We're doing it live.
That's a good Vector song. Doing it live.
I think that was originally uh was it Jimmy Fallon? No, somebody did that. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
watch a
think it
lot of
was. It was one of those talk show hosts.
I don't watch a lot
Or
of
like
talk shows, but
I see the clips from him sometimes. That's
yeah,
about it.
exactly. All right, let me
Are
just
we
make
fully
sure.
live, by the way?
Oh yeah, we're on.
Oh no.
We're there.
Oh yikes.
Yeah. What's up, everybody?
What's up, guys?
Yo,
Welcome to the
yo.
Flock Flip.
The flock flip. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Get ready to start cooking up some samples.
Yep. We're in a what key is it tonight? D harmonic minor?
Uh,
Sounds about right.
yeah. I mean, I was doing some D major to be
Yeah.
honest, you know.
But it's late night vibes, past 9 p.m. So I gotta go with the sadder keys.
Oh yeah, well. I mean, it's not like too happy. I think the thing about happy and sad is like you can play anything
Yeah.
happy or sad, I think.
It's definitely context based. Cause
Yeah.
like even Phrygian, which is supposed to be like the angry mode, like if you just bounce between the tonic and like the flat two major, it's such a upbeat sound. And it's supposed to be like the darkest key.
All right, let me just make sure I've got everyone's track here. I think I'm missing. Let's see. I'm missing 2 tracks, I think. I just want to make sure I've got them all open. Nobody gets missed.
We should just skip like half of them.
Just skip
Roll a
everybody.
random wheel.
Just
Yep.
skip
We're
everyone.
done, guys. That was a good feedback stream.
Yep, we'll just do a little outro here, you know. All right, see you next week.
Oh, we're echoing.
Oh, we are echoing? That is strange.
Oh no.
Y'all
Someone put delay on the master.
echoing. How is that even possible?
Maybe he has the stream open
Oh, you
twice.
might have it open twice, Crafty, because Rhythmic said he does not hear the echoes. So that is a user error. User error. We're in a cave. No echo. Okay, 2 people said no echo.
Oh yeah, you gotta try it with VHS crackle after stream. I just threw it on. It sounds so
What do you use for VHS crackle?
good. It's in RC20.
Oh, it is. Oh,
Yeah,
what?
they have like a bunch of different eras.
Yo, let's go. Oh,
They have
VHS.
Apollo Lunar Lander. I wonder what that one sounds like.
Ooh, it does have a different. It has a different kind of vibe to it, you know.
Yeah, it does. It's like kind of noisy like the first vinyl one, but it's not high-end noise.
Ooh, those high notes sound so
Ooh,
nice. That
yeah.
sounds so nice. All right, let me turn all this off. Sorry. We get easily distracted, you know? That's how it
Yeah, we
goes.
were cooking up some roads before stream.
Yeah. Making roads, unlike my local government. They seem to not fill in any of the holes for those. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Let us embark upon this journey. Let me first just make sure that I have this turned down to the right volume.
Oh yeah, and he wants us to reload this track, I think.
Oh, okay, perfect. There we go. All right, let me just make sure got this turned down to the old 75% so that I'm not blasting you guys. All right. Ooh, Duncan with the snap heap fat knob. What is a fat knob?
Ooh, is there a skinny knob? I want to try that one on my
What's
basses.
Like a
Is
fat
it like
rack?
a Faturator?
Is it like the fat rack? Is it like the fat rack knob on? Is that what you're saying? Now I'm curious. You've piqued my interest, Duncan.
Probably
Makes your
Faturator.
sound to eat McDonald's.
We need a sausage
Oh,
fattener,
it's a snap
actually.
heap preset. Oh, I've learned something today. Um, well, word. I'll have to try that at some point soon. But all right. Without further ado, let us jump right into this. We got Pinched, which is an instrumental mix, so I assume that means that there will be vocals on here. Assuming. Usually that's what I assume
Yep.
when I see that. So maybe I shouldn't make assumptions though. Let's jump into this. All right. What a fun track to kick us off. So I'm just
Exciting start to the night.
I'm pulling up some important information here. Just because I know
Would
I'm
you
gonna
like
need
to
it.
go first, or?
Yes. All right.
All
We're gonna
right.
start off the evening.
Remember, he is the saw sub in the drop. That's
Yeah,
a clue as to what that harmonic is.
it's true. No, I think this is something that a lot of people may or may not know about, and I just love bringing it up because it's something that rings true. I think with a lot of situations that could have been resolved more quickly. And I'm gonna get into your questions in just a second here, but the biggest thing that stuck out to me is you had a lot of situations or moments, maybe I don't know if it's really a situation, but moments in your song where your kind of mid bass harmonics, like lowest fundamental harmonic, was louder than your sub harmonic. And oh, I just realized, am I muted? No, I'm not. Okay, good.
No, you're not.
Yeah, the sub harmonic needs to be like at least a little bit higher or at the same level. Definitely not below. So I just wanted to point that out. That was like the biggest thing. I'm kind of going backwards here, but that was like the biggest thing that I think you could address and make this song feel a lot beefier. Then again, it's not like something that you really have to like. You don't have to turn up the sub. I would just say lower that mid bass fundamental a little bit. But anyway, how's the mix? I think the mix is pretty good. I do think I feel like the drums are a little bit louder than everything else, which isn't necessarily always the worst thing. It's just that, like, for example, that snare, when that snare is hitting, it's just a lot louder than like all of the other main elements in the track. And I would say I would say the kick should definitely be the loudest along with the sub, and then your mid bass should probably come after those two. And then the snare should either sit like around the same level as your mid bass or a little bit louder depending on how aggressive your side chain is. But I think that it's like really like a lot louder in this case. So I would either make the side chain a little bit less aggressive on the snare going into whatever it is that you're side chaining with. So like, I don't know if you're using shaper box or compression or whatever, but I would make the snare side chaining either a little bit less, or I would just turn it down a little bit. I would say try the volume first, and then if that still feels like it's like not feeling right, I would just mess with the side chain a little bit there. But yeah, so that is my thought on the mix. Other than that, I thought everything was pretty well mixed. I do think that yeah, you can see here on the sub bass, you really want to make sure that and maybe I'll try and screenshot it. So let me just get up the old paint here. So when you see, yeah, Percy's pulling it up again.
I had to draw it backwards
You drew it
for a second. Yeah.
But basically, yeah, you can see here that you have these like fundamental frequencies here, and then there's like this harmonic right next to it that's rubbing up right next to it. And what this does is it basically makes this fundamental feel weaker. So like it feels like less girthy and less full because you have these harmonics that are sitting right next to it, essentially kind of making the sound feel less impactful. So I would focus heavily on addressing that in this song. Really be conscious of the idea that having a sturdy and clean and almost separated fundamental can really help improve the stability of your bass and the impact of your bass. But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing in the mix that I thought was off, other than the drums being a little bit loud. I mean, I would just say mess around with the sidechain a little bit. It could just be that it's a little bit too aggressive. And then if that's not what's the issue, then just mess with the volumes a little bit. So next question. You think the intro bass sounds clipped, but I've convinced myself it's fine as it is. Thoughts? I don't think it sounds too clipped. Like, it sounds fine. I just think that, like I was saying, the sine wave, like even here, it's pretty close, but you're also hitting some pretty low notes, and that can be dangerous. But I'm not going to focus too much on that. I would worry more about this sub fundamental hitting higher than the low mid fundamental. And yeah, low mids you might want to even turn down a little bit anyway, just because they tend to be.
Can you play that part again? Sorry, not to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, harmonics are. It's really when you so think about the harmonic series, right? You have an F0, then you have an F1, and then you have the C1, and then you have the F2. It's like at the very bottom of the harmonic series, you have big spaces in between each harmonic. And when you're mixing or like arranging stuff, you kind of want the peaks in your song to follow that harmonic series. Like towards the bottom, you don't want stuff to be super clumped together because it gets really muddy. This is like also when you're voicing stuff on piano, like you want your octaves to be at the bottom, then fifths in the bottom and middle, and then as you like get higher in register, you can clump stuff closer together. And when I'm looking at the frequency response here, there's a lot of harmonics cluttered together, like in the 150 hertz to 200 hertz range. And that makes it really muddy to our ears and just like harmonically wise. So you could take like, I don't know if it's playing a chord there, but if you are playing a chord, you could maybe like raise the second note in that chord up an octave, and then that would probably open things up a bit. Like you want openly voiced stuff in the lower registers. That's just something I noticed.
Yeah, spot on.
Contribute to the mud.
Yeah, no, and I think that's like the big thing is just like finding frequency wise where to put stuff and where not to put stuff. And like, yeah, some of that is like, I would say like some of it can be fixed in the mix and master, but a lot of that is also related to like the arrangement decision making, which kind of relates to where Percy was going with that. And that's like, just definitely be conscious of where the notes are happening and how clumped together they are at like what point of the frequency spectrum they're located. So like Percy was saying, I could even, so like if I play like two notes right next to each other, You know, like if I play it down there, you can hear it's like, you know, interlacing with itself. It just sounds weird. But if I play those same two notes way up here, you know, it still sounds like a little bit weird, but it sounds a little bit more like pleasant. And that's like kind of pushing it, you know. That's like, but it still sounds kind of more tonal, and that's what he's basically saying. As you go down,
Yeah.
it gets a little more sketchy. But anyway, so the last question that you had. So yeah, I don't think this sounds clipped. I just think that it's about the voicings that we were just discussing. And does the drop sub need a more restrictive low pass? I'm not sure if hearing the higher frequencies of the sub is garbage. Is there a better way to get them delicious harmonics? Okay, so, it's a good question. I think that generally you can get away with like either soothing or dynamic EQing, or, you know, finding those resonant peaks and reducing them, and you'll be fine. So, you know, the classic, I'll just pull up Ableton here and just show you. If I grab a EQ, whoops, I just realized, let me grab Pro Q so I can actually like, because you won't.
So you can actually do it.
Yeah, you won't be able to see what I'm talking about. So this, right, is boost and sweep. So in Pro Q, you can actually solo and listen, but if you just have a regular EQ, what you can do is take a band EQ like this, and you can boost it and sweep it to find the resonant peak, and then you can just cut it at that frequency. And a lot of the times you can also get a little bit more precise with the Q value as well. But the idea here is you can usually get away with even just doing that, and that will normally be enough to sate the pain, you know, receptors in your ears, which are usually sitting at like, what is that, like 3K, 3 to 5K, maybe 8K, somewhere in there is usually where the harshest stuff resides. Definitely 3K though. 3K is a dangerous area where you have to be very conscious about how much is happening there. But long story short, your ears will know when you boost up and sweep through, you'll notice right away where there's a resonant peak, because it'll sound like pain and suffering.
Yeah, because you'll go deaf for like a solid 15 minutes. That's how it'll go.
Yeah, you'll be like,
Yeah.
that's so painful, and then you just cut that down. So yeah.
Yep. And it'll be more painful in one ear, and that's how you'll realize that you have like late stage hearing loss from being near concert speakers.
Anyway, those are my thoughts on all those questions, though. I do think this is a really good start to a song, though. And I do think there's room for vocals, so that's good that you mentioned that. There's definitely room for the vocals still, so that's good to know. That's like, I think, a good goal to have. But yeah, Percy, what are your thoughts on the questions? Do you have anything else you want to add?
How sold are we on this Saw sub? Because I think like Saws in general, this might be a hot take, but I don't think Saws make great subs. Because like ideally when you have a sub, you want to have odd harmonics, which that's a square wave. Like right there, you got your square wave, you got perfect distortion if you want like heavy distortion. But with the Saws, you have like all these even harmonics too that get pretty problematic. Like even ignoring the second harmonic, like that octave, you still get a few like weird ones as you go up with the even harmonics. I think like yeah, like Kev is saying, it's signs are really good too, because like you distort a sign with 99% of saturators and you're just basically like making it a baby square wave. Like if you distort a pure sine, you're gonna add the third harmonic, fifth harmonic, seventh harmonic. So I think sticking to a sine and square subs is low key the play, because it's less messy. Yeah, squares with a filter they're kind of cracked. Like I feel like a lot of rhythm stuff and like heavy dubstep is just super slammed squares smashed into a filter. And that kind of gets you that really full sub sound without having the weird harmonics that you would get with a saw.
Or even it's like in Vital has a shape, in basic shapes.
Vital has
like,
shapes?
Yeah,
no
but
way.
It's this one sine wave. It's basically a squared off sine wave, and I feel like that is like the sauce right there.
Is that has what, the 1, 3, and 5?
1, 3, 5, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we can even go in and look. Yeah, 1, 3, 5. So, yeah, I think that is a great example of how like squariness in your sine waves can be good. And I would say that's actually even better than low passing, because then you only have the harmonics that you want, and there's no like weird filtery stuff that can happen. It's not always
Like you
bad to
won't have
filter.
phasing problems that might happen, especially with like steep low passes on the low end. By the way, don't low pass stuff. Don't low pass your sub with an EQ8 or an auto filter. Trust me. Use a linear phase EQ. I'm not gonna go in the spiel, but trust me, it'll make a world of difference. Um, but back to the questions. I don't think, like Magdu had said, I don't think the intro bass is clipped at all. I think it's more just it feels muddy because of the mid range or like low mid mud. So if you kind of that chord cluster that happens in the low end, if you space that out, I think it would be a lot less muddy and it would not feel like it was clipping. Uh, Dino, you can't say hello if you didn't show up to the feedback session. SMA. Look at us. We got 2 feedback givers. You're lucky that your name suggestion lended to a great title for today.
That's facts.
Yeah. Mix wise, it's pretty good right now, aside from like the mid range or low mid stuff, and then also some of the stuff that Magdu had said with the drums. I think when you go to add vocals, you might want to like it sounds good on its own, but I think it might be an issue mixing vocals in right now. So you might have to do like obviously some cutting, some adding space, but that's just how it goes when you add vocals. So I don't think it's an issue. It'll just have take a little bit to carve out space probably. And you don't have to use them like throughout the drop. You can just use vocals as fills, so it won't be that big of a deal. But yeah, I'm excited to hear this maybe next week with some vocals on it and that low harmonic cleaned up.
Yeah, I feel like that was like the most glaring thing was the cleanliness of the sub. That is without a
Yeah.
doubt. Because we all know that sub is pretty cool.
He hasn't showered in a bit, man. He's got mud all over him. He's been like out in the wilderness. He needs to get like maybe even a bubble bath, get him all sparkly clean.
Yeah. But no, that's a cool track. And yeah, I do agree with Percy. I look forward to hearing this with some vocals on it. I think that would go hard. But all right, on to the next one. Oh, we have a recurring track. Let's go,
Woo-hoo!
dude. This is hype. All right. We got
I love when
Purple.
people resubmit stuff. We get to see the journey of the track.
Yeah. And the last time it was an improvement too, so I can only imagine that this will be similar. All right.
Yes.
Purple.
That was definitely the best iteration of this track so far. I don't think I heard it last week because I didn't get to tune in, but this was definitely an improvement over last time I heard it.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to kick us off? Because yeah, I still need to consider what I want to say. I don't know.
Yeah, I can kick us off. So a stereo image, yeah, I think I don't think there was a stereo image problem when I last heard it. So maybe that was something that got introduced last. Or maybe there was like a little bit of stuff leaning to one ear, but I think it sounded really good here. The perk was really, or like the percussion was pretty wide, which I think was nice because it gave the main basses like room in the mids. And I think wide percussion is great.
Well, Percy's entering the lag
Is
zone.
anything off? Oh no.
I think he's back though. I think he's back.
I'm back. I'm
Yeah.
back. How much of what I said got sent to the void? What did I
Like
cut off?
literally the last like 5 words, like not a
Oh,
lot.
okay. Well, I liked it. The stereo width, normally that's something that if it's off, I'll kind of notice it, but it sounded good to me. The main synth, I think it fits the vibe a lot more. Yes. Will you play like a section of the second drop? Like, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it fits the vibe a lot more now. I think that going with the chord wub instead of the hypersaw is a good play for this stuff because it the hyper maybe you could use like a hypersaw sum as a fill element, but I think going with the wub just fits the style of the track a lot more and kind of wub style chords fit a lot better with this kind of harmony too because it kind of I don't know what it's like oscillating between, but when you kind of do those leaps in harmony, it sounds a lot better as a wub. The subharmonics, I didn't notice any mud. I don't think I heard any. Did you hear any second harmonic Mag
No,
do it?
no,
I
I think
heard
it was
some
just
third.
third. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just third and fifth. So it's that stuff's clean. Like they interlock nicely with the sub. They just make it sound louder and fuller. But yeah, I think this is pretty much finished, honestly. Magdo might have some more to say, but from what I've heard, this is definitely the best duration so far. And
Yeah.
grill this chicken breast. I love grilled chicken breast. That's the best way to have chicken. I
True.
agree.
True. Yeah, grilled chicken is the best. Oh wait, I assume you're good on that. I have my thoughts. So
Yeah.
everything that Percy said on all this, I agree with. Yeah, I have no issues with anything here. Uh, I don't know if you're asking. I'm gonna go ahead and say my two thoughts because they're kind of unrelated to these questions. Because I feel like you slayed all three of these things. All three of these things are, I would say, perfect in the way that you achieve them. So the two things that, because this is like nitpicking now, because I think you're basically you're at the finals. You're at the finish line. You can see it. You know, you're about to run through the ribbon. You just have to make those like last few those few steps. The first thing that caught my ear is during these drops. I think you even mentioned it, but I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. You hear that click?
Yeah. I think that's the one that he mentioned for sure.
I just want to make sure that, yeah, definitely sit through these and just find those clicks and make sure that you adjust to make those not there, because if it's an audio sample, you can just fade that in and then get rid of the click that way. Basically, all it is that a synth is starting and it's not starting on a zero crossing, so you're getting that digital click, and that can disrupt the mind subconsciously. You know, we're trying to make that pristine sauce, so I would just look for those clicks and get rid of them. The other thing, because there are a couple, yeah, there's like there's a good. I would say there was like 4 or 5 that I heard that I noticed.
It's
I
like
wasn't
it's
like
like
counting.
one recurring articulation probably, or like
Yeah,
one little note that cuts off too soon.
exactly. So yeah, I would just make sure you notice all those clicks and fix them. So if you're aware of it, that's good. And then the last thing is during this build up, um, I think you could high pass these synths, the mid range synths, a little bit more because the sub is a lot quieter, which is good. You want the sub to be quieter, but the mid synths, especially in what is this, like the 200 to 400 hertz range, like 265 hertz ish, is still like too much. There's still too much energy there. You could either high pass them or you could even use like just a band, peak reduce thing. That works too. And I feel like if you match the energy of the mid range of those synths to the sub in that section, you'll have a really, really great feeling of tension building. And then when you do get to this final release, yeah, it'll just go so hard, that much harder. So, I mean, you could notch them. I just think that's too aggressive. Like, I feel like you should be very, very conscious about how much you're doing it and very like subtle with it. You don't want to notice it too much, but you want to feel it. So, yeah, those are really the only 2 things that I thought could really just push this over the edge, as far as perfection goes. But yeah, dude, all these questions, I have nothing to say. Oh, except for, yeah, grill it, bro. Yeah. Every once
You
in a
sure
while
you don't want to
fry it.
boiled chicken?
Not unless it's in chicken noodle soup. That goes hard.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
But yeah, no, I think that this track is dope. I really am impressed, especially with your decision on the new main synth. I would say that is without a doubt the best decision that you made, and I'm sure it took a little bit of a leap.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do this far into a project, but it's like it's a good thing to kind of settle on what you want your sound to be. And I think just like even saving and making a new instance of like the project and just playing with like, hey, even if you like the sound that you have, playing with like different versions of the lead or like tweaking a bunch of settings you wouldn't have tweaked otherwise if you're scared to mess it up, you can find a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah,
So definitely it's something to try out. Not like you did try it out, but just like in general to the other people in chat.
yeah, because that was a 180 and it worked really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff, Rhythmix. I'm excited to hear more from you. This is cool. That was a fun journey. So yeah,
It was a very purple journey.
that was a
Fits.
purple. You're not wrong. That was a very
Oh,
purple journey.
is that thumbnail purple or is it pink? Because that leans more pink to me.
So I'm red green colorblind, so I'm probably the last person you
Oh,
should be asking that. But if I
I would.
had
What?
to say, it looks more purple. But I'm
Yeah. Well, your opinion doesn't count because
it's
you're a.
but it's also like maybe this corner maybe is more pink because it's gradient. You could tell. I think it's gradient.
Is it? Is it a gradient? I'm not sure.
This is a bad question to ask me, my guy. I am really bad at this. If it's got red in it, oh, yikes. But yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Rhythmix. We look forward to hearing more. That was dope.
Man, maybe I'm the colorblind one.
Maybe we're
Chat
both
is I'm
colorblind.
getting ratioed.
That would be
Need to get
really
tested.
rough. We're
Yeah.
both colorblind. We're like, what color is that, man? Dude, that's some serious green right there, man. Yeah, that's green, bro. That's green.
Okay,
Imagine.
Dino, go back to your aunt's house, bro. No need to be a nerd in the chat. Come on.
All right. Next up, we got Ravana. Was by Rav X. Is it? I assume it's Rav and Jove.
What if it's Hove?
Hove. Could be Hove too. Sorry, I just didn't see the little. Usually, I'd see like the little e with the.
Oh yeah,
I'm not trying to
the
appropriate or
accent.
anything, but yeah, it would have that. Like, usually, that's where my mind would go if it had that. But anyway, collab track. Let's go, dude. Wow. That
That was
was
a dope drop.
that was really cool. So I guess I'll kick this one off because I this time around I have one thing that really stood out to me, but let me just go through the other questions first. So, are the drum rhythms a little off? I think that they worked pretty well. Like I wouldn't say they were off. Like I don't know what your technical definition of off would be. I feel like danceable, probably not.
I could
Um,
not find, dude. I was trying to find a headbanging rhythm. I could not find it. I was
yeah,
struggling over here.
yeah. I don't think it was danceable, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I'm someone who really enjoys things like the Botanica stuff and like very introspective kind of like thinking music, which normally doesn't need to have like a headbanging vibe to it. So I don't know. Like off is a subjective term. But I would say it's definitely not danceable. So yeah, I would not be able to dance to this, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad because it definitely gave me a really good vibe. Like it was definitely a good vibe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rhythmics just spit facts. Um,
Yep.
so is the Reese interesting enough, and does it feel out of place in the rest of the track? I don't think it feels out of place. There are a couple of moments that I think feel a little bit muddy, though. It's not that the Reese itself is bad or the timbre of it is bad, but it is the way that it's being used. Let me see if I can find an example. Yeah, like that moment. I think it's like so fast that it's like feeling more muddy than clear. And I think if you really want it to be that fast, you have to do some volume automation with it. But then at that point, it doesn't feel as good. So I would say maybe during those sections, just add a sustained low end to it, like, because it's basically become a sustained bass anyway. So you may as well, I think, go for a clear sustained sub region rather than letting it feel as muddy as it does. But that's just my thought. There are a couple of other moments like that, but that's like the biggest one that stuck out.
It's like it almost becomes like a completely different Reese in those parts. Cause like even looking at the harmonics, it goes from like this really like I love the sound of the Reese in most of the parts, but then in those little sections, it goes to being like really muddy harmonically. It's weird. I don't know if it's maybe like the rate on the LFO is moving so fast that it's like spawning a low frequency. Because if you do that fast, like that's what it feels like. Because even on the mini meters, it becomes like almost a plateau of frequencies in the low end.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, it's not bad timbrally. It's just something in the low end changes that doesn't feel good. Compared to, like, for example, like that sounds great there. Like,
Yeah, that shit's fat.
yeah, so it's hard to like pinpoint what's causing it, but I would say focus on like really maintaining that this shape here is like beautiful. It feels great. It's great. I think it sounds great. Everything about it I love. And then you'll have those moments that I just discussed. Yeah, I would say just focus on figuring out how to make them a little bit less muddy. Like I said, I think the best option would be to just add some dedicated sub energy and call it a day. But maybe it's something that you know how to figure out inside of your Reese patch or however. Yeah, okay, so you said you're doing some combination of pit bends and auto pan. So maybe it's something to do with the auto pan. Maybe there's some weird phasey stuff happening. I don't know. I would say
It might be
maybe
worth it might be worth trying to figure out how to keep the patch working because there's so much cool pitch automation that goes on that might be I would don't immediately dedicated sub is a great option if like you try a bunch of stuff and it's not working, but I would like try and figure out how to do it in the patch because I think having it would be hard to have the dedicated sub match the pitch bending so nicely, and I think it sounds really good here.
that's
That
true.
was just my 1 cent there.
No, yeah, you're spot on. Definitely one of those two. At the very least, yeah, focus on it. You already know that is my thought on that. Okay, so how is the mix on the verses? Wondering if the melodics are a bit too loud. So like I kind of see what you're saying. Like I mean, I would say it's like too airy. I wouldn't say it's necessarily too loud per se. I would say that whatever the high frequency, noisy kind of stuff is happening, I think that is a little bit too forward. But I don't think that the mid range is too forward. I guess it's like that like sweep that you're using.
It doesn't even give off like sweep vibes. It gives off like wave vibes. I think like you could maybe play with that more and make it more of like a movement thing than like an LFO thing. Like have it guide the direction of the track rather than just kind of wash back and forth on the song. I think that would do because it kind of would also help signify that this is like moving towards something, which I think is kind of missing just a little bit in the intro and break sections.
Yeah, I think especially like automating the volume, because like you could even keep the shapes the way that it is, but if you have the volume, because it sounds like for the most part it's the same volume throughout the whole sections here. I think, yeah, like Percy was saying, if you have it direct the like, because I don't even think you need to filter it or anything like that. It's just volume related. At least those are my thoughts. That's my opinion on it. But yeah, other than that, dude, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you even go into that. You make a nice, clean, little quick transition there. I'll be honest, these sections do feel, especially this outro, feels like slightly empty. I don't know if your plan is to like add more stuff or because it's basically the same as this intro section. I think that it could benefit from having like a lead synth doing some weird stuff on there, or like a little piano thing on top, like something very human, maybe even a vocal. Just something like that, I think, could help kind of seal the deal on the progression of the
Yeah.
track. But
I'm kind of the opposite here, low key. I think instead of going like the human route, like the arc of this track to me is like very natural, like going on a melodic journey in the beginning, and then you encounter like this huge monster when that respace hits, which like just that respace hits, it's smacking like that. It made me like gasp inwards. It's a fire sound. I think that once you get to that second break, I don't know if you're gonna add like another drop after this. It kind of feels like it because it cuts off a little bit. But I think because now you've encountered like this monster of a respace, you could introduce elements from it, like maybe render it to audio and make like a few ambient like little hits from it that aren't bassy, but like kind of just tease that in the second melodic section because like you already know it's there, so it's not like you're going back to this super melodic peacefulness. Like you know this fucking creature is lurking in the background now. So I think that would be a good way to add some more like variation in the second half there or the second melodic section.
yeah, facts. No, that's a big brain move. Yeah, that those are my thoughts, Percy. I don't know if you wanted to add what else you have to say about these questions, but I think
I've kind of been chiming in between because it's two people. I feel like it's good to have like the conversational feedback thing.
no, I feel that. I just want to make sure. Yeah, you said whatever you wanted to say. I
Yeah, I
definitely
got it all out.
yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think I
Maybe maybe some Foley in the drop, like not super danceable percussion, but maybe just a little bit of like a very organic Foley to guide through the drop would be cool. But you don't have to do that. I like the sparse nature of it right now. It feels very, very nice, but some Foley could always help it be like maybe it was just a me thing, but I found it a little bit hard to catch a rhythm just because of how slow the beats per minute is, I think, and like how far apart the kick and snare are. So that would be my suggestion.
yeah, I would say this resembles Botanica more than like anything else as far as the arrangement of what's happening and the lack of
Yeah.
danceability, because it still sounds like it's kind of like uh there's motifs, but they're not connected to one another in a way that is rhythmic. So
More like a sound collage than like a
yeah.
yeah. I don't
The
know where I was going with
No,
that.
no, you're speaking fat. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, but it is a little bit weird. The one thing that is weird is kind of going from a rhythmic thing to a not rhythmic thing, and then back to the rhythmic thing. That is a little bit strange. So I kind of agree with Percy there in the sense that, like, in the context of what you're doing already, it could be nice to have something a little bit more graspable as the listener, just to keep us on that sort of rhythmic journey. But yeah. those are my thoughts. Really cool song, dude. Yeah, this collab goes hard. You guys are making
Yeah.
bangers. Yeah, that was nuts. All right, next up, we got Scrooge, Twan X Scrooge with "Keep It Pushing," bro.
Another collab. Oh wait, no,
No,
never
that's
mind.
him,
Yeah,
bro.
the X always throws me off, bro.
Heck yeah, but now let's get it. Sorry, I just read that he said, "Can you reload mine?" Got you, bro.
Ooh, new profile pic or new cover.
Just another hot, ayy. Time to move on, keep 'em pushing, dog. Try to stay strong till you ain't just another cog. Watch slow, warning signs of a pylon for the gut. You like just another hot, ayy. Time to move on, keep 'em pushing, dog. Try to stay strong till you ain't just another cog. Watch slow, warning signs of a pylon for the gut. You like just another hot, ayy.
Of the blackness.
Death always on my mind, that's my only outlet. Never will I commit suicide, holy heaven routed. I'll push to them clear skies, need to let it shut my mouth quick. Slipping up on what I say, tripping on how I portray. Missing drowsy, how you doing, Trey? I've been feeling lousy, moving up some games so I can turn on my brain and meet the constant commentary.
No lessons to be learned.
Damn,
That was
that was
crazy.
fire. Yeah,
I
bro, you've leveled up recently.
oh yeah, dude. He has
Um,
been. Yeah, kick us off. What do you think? You saw the
Yeah, I
questions.
got my little. Yeah, I sent him in DMs.
Oh, okay.
All right, so do you enjoy the cuts, drum fills, yay or nay? Yes, I loved all the drum fills. There's some fire tom fills. All the vocal fills are really dope. Although I think like kind of also with your question number 3, do the vocals sit where they should? I think because the vocals are like they're not really competing as a fill. They're like everything cuts out and you hear the vocals. They could even be boosted more. and like maybe even fucked with like effect wise a little bit more. Like you can really play around with creative effects on vocal fills. I don't know, like I'm pretty sure there was some filtering on them, but play around with like some heavy flanging, like a Saturn fold back distortion, like turn up the feedback on that and move the frequency. Like just play around with creative effects because with this neuro hop stuff, you can get really crazy with how you make your vocal fills sound. Um, but the drum fills I think were fitting perfectly. Like they all kind of fit rhythmically. I really enjoyed them. That's something I need to put more drum fills in. That's a reminder to me that bass fills are not the end all be all because they fit really nice here.
I feel like
Um,
there was just one drum fill that I didn't like. How did I get it the first time and now I can't find it?
Damn.
one of those after Yeah, that was weird.
I
It
feel
has
like,
weird stereo width too. Like it should be centered.
yeah, that was the only one that I felt it just felt out of place compared to the other ones. I like the other ones because you had like some pretty solid rhythmics to them, and they were like just drums. This one is like a little bit more Foley fill, which is fine, but it just doesn't. I don't know. It didn't feel.
Foley doesn't have like a punchy rhythm. Like with Foley, the big draw of it is that it's not really transienty. So you get like a very it's kind of like the wub of percussion, I guess. But when you have a fill like that, you want punchy percussion to like guide the rhythm.
Yeah.
And you kind of lose
Or
it a bit with Foley.
or maybe just use like one of the scratches instead of using like a percussion sort of Foley. Just use like one solid scrape, um, like from one to the like just kind of like a bit like a it's almost like a reverse symbol or like a reversed sound at that point, but instead you're using like Foley in the place of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to like cut you off, but that was my thought.
No, this
There was
is
one in
good.
there that I was like, that one did not feel like the others. One of these things
There's
is not
also
like the
the
other.
one right before this when you were paging through it. It was like a combination of a drum and a vocal fill, and I don't know how I feel about that one. Like it kind of cuts off the tom fill in the middle to do the vocal fill, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like I didn't stick out to me going through the first time, but when Magdu had played it again, I was kind of iffy about it. I think I don't know. It didn't stick out as bad, so it's probably just a super nitpicky thing. I don't know if I would change it, but just wanted to throw that in there as well.
And if you're really
Uh,
sold on that fill, use like the Ableton Warp and really try and get the transients of the Foley to sit in a more rhythmically pleasing way, like in a way that doesn't feel as random or like different from the current kind of pattern that's happening from the tempo. But yeah, anyway.
yeah, because like when you have Foley like that, you even if it's in the right tempo, it might be that like the attack is hitting on the beats that you want it to, or like the subdivisions. And if you go in warp, you can kind of like if you double click in that audio sample and you open up that menu, you can go to like the little time bar at the top. If you double click, it'll add a warp marker. And then if you put one like at the beginning and the end of each little section of the Foley, you can really fine tune like where everything is hitting. And you can play around with it so that like instead of the attack hitting on the downbeat or the attack hitting on like whatever subdivision you're hitting, you can make the peak of the Foley hit happen at that beat marker. And then it'll kind of be tighter on the rhythm because it'll like it won't feel like it's lagging behind, I guess, which you get a lot with those Foley sounds. Or you could also like layer a more clicky percussion, like not a click obviously, but like a more transienty percussion with it. So you also get like that right on the beat feel that you really want to keep the rhythm. So that's how I would do that. Uh, what's the next? Some ghost notes to the break. Yeah, I think that like the break felt kind of empty. Will you play just like a couple seconds of the break?
Outputs to them clear skies, need to let it shut my mouth quick. Slipping up on what I say, tripping on how I portray, missing drowsy. How you doing, Trey? I've been feeling lousy.
Yeah,
It's on
I
my
think
mind
some.
this month. Death always on my mind this month. Only outlet, never.
I feel like I'm sorry. No, yeah, you go first. You go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I wrote a little note on what to do here. This is kind of not exactly related to the ghost notes, but I think that the transition between the drop and the break is weird to me when I first heard it. Like you have a riser building out of the drop or like a little noise layer, and then when the drop ends, it kind of all fades away and goes into like a completely new section. And I think like you could smooth instead of it being like a hard linear cut between the two sections. It would be nice if you kind of like had them fade into each other, because you kind of hinted that with the riser, and I think that you could do that by either having like a downlifter hit at the start of the break, or like reverse that riser sample and fade it out a bit more so it feels like a more smeared transition, or just like low cut and then have that, don't have it active until like the very end of the drop, like the final bar or so, and then sweep that low cut up and maybe a high cut as well, so you kind of have like your filter shapes like moving, closing in on the track, and add some reverb, and that'll kind of like also help smear the sections together and transition them better, because it really did feel like a hard cut to me when I was first listening through. And that I wrote like a note on it, so it stood out a bit. And I think even like nerfing the hats in the break and replacing them with like, not replacing, but nerfing, like cutting them a bunch and then adding a really ghosty snare like hitting in the pocket would be a great way to improve the space in the break as well. But what do you got to say, Mag? Do it.
Yeah, I think that my opinion of the break is you might not even want the drums at the beginning of it. And if you do really want to keep the drums, I would say change them, make them like less crazy, like heavy, you know, because you're basically using the same exact drums as the drop in this break, which feels slightly weird. Mainly from a energy perspective, because you're expecting like the energy to change, but then because the drums are staying the same, the energy isn't really changing enough. I also wanted to add, just because it's something that I'm usually really conscious about, and it's not something you have to change, but it's something that gets to me in a not so great way, is the repetition of the motif throughout the song as far as the melodics go. Because I'm pretty sure throughout the whole song you have it doing this like duh, 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 and it's doing that like the whole song over and over and over again. I would say like try and add like a few more notes, like duh, 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 you know, like something like that, right? Like kind of make it like a little bit spicier. Even like that kind of stuff can really help keep the listener engaged and not make it feel a little bit more progressive. Because like, yeah, I think it's doing that one motif the whole way through, and it does get a little bit old. And yeah, I would just say focus on like adding some different notes, you know, add some different notes, or maybe mess around with, if it's a sample that you're messing with here, I would say like explore either some other parts of the sample, or maybe like some other samples that might go along with it that are in the same key. That kind of stuff I think really helps. But I think in this case scenario, the reason why I'm bringing this up is I think it would help the transition to the breakdown if you had a different motif in the breakdown. Just because, yeah, I think that's just another really great way to create that feeling of change, is change up the drums a little bit, change up the, you know, motif a little bit of the main kind of synth lead stuff. Yeah, those are my thoughts on the breakdown. I do agree with you, by the way, on everything you were saying. The transition does feel a little bit weird, but I think a lot of that's because there's not a whole lot of energy change. Like the only thing that you're changing is there's no bass now, so it feels like weak. You know, like it feels like
Yeah.
you're expecting something to change, but you still have all this energy. But now this main kind of like energy filled element is now gone, but everything else has stayed the same. But yeah.
He could also just like cut the lows and highs on the drums and like fade them in into the drum build. Like that would be a cool way to also cut back on the energy. Just like you said, it feels like there's a weird lopsided amount of energy. Like the bass goes away and then the rest doesn't. So yeah, definitely play with what Mag's talking about.
Yeah, and then third
But
question.
um vocals and harsh frequencies. I'm really bad about harsh frequencies because I'm deaf and I also have like headphones that nerf all the harsh frequencies for me, so I don't hear them. But Magduit can probably give good insight on that. I think the vocals sit pretty well, except that some of the fills could be made louder in some parts. Like the vocal fills, maybe more OTT, maybe smash them a bit more, maybe make them feel more forward by adding like distortion or effects or flanging or any of that stuff. But otherwise, I think they sit pretty well mixing wise, except for the volume in some places. But they're fire. Like even the someone said it in chat, but the pre-drop vocal is pretty cool too. I like your little Scrooge tag. But yeah, Mag, do you got anything to say there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the vocals were sitting nice. I think that even in the break, yeah, it was a little quiet. I do think it could have gone up in some decibels or maybe even unmasked a little bit more. But yeah, generally, I think the vocals were fine. Harsh frequency wise, I feel like the only thing that I'm not certain of, I would say, is there's like a buildup of this mid range, I think. No, maybe it's just the way that the synth is sitting on top in the high frequencies, because I feel like the drop feels, I don't want to say cluttered because it's not cluttered. It's like all the basses are perfect, and I feel like the synths are okay being there, but I think they feel almost pad like in the drop, which makes me feel like they should be further back in the mix during the drops. I feel like the bass should be even more forward in the mix, and I'm not saying you should turn up the bass, but I think you should actually lower the other synths, because I feel like they're fighting for the same space in the high frequencies, and then what ends up happening is it feels like it's like crowded. Um, and yeah, no, I mean, like, it's not a necessarily bad thing, but I think if you did address that, it would make the drops hit a lot harder. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's really my
Even
only
like if it
thought.
was stereo width, maybe that could be a possibly like
That's
just
big
make
brain.
them not be in the same stereo space.
Yeah, like cut.
Along probably alongside the volume too, but like cut the mids. Yeah.
Well, even the
Or
highs, like the mid high, like I know what you mean, like the mid frequencies in the high frequency section, that I think would go hard, because then you still have some of the stereo, feeling of them existing, but then it wouldn't be, you know, overpowering the main bass, which is what we want to be the most forward thing in the mix. Um, yeah, my thought process with a lot of like the bass sounds is they shouldn't be fighting with anything, because they are like, you know, they're like the most important element other than the drums and the sub, of course. They are like the mid basses are like the most important element during drops like these. Um,
it's like a I don't remember where I might have just like hallucinated this name for it, but I've heard it called like peacocking. Like you have a peacock and they're like all showing off, and if you have a bunch of them, like it detracts from the prettiness if they're all like, you know how in mating season like they show off all their pretty feathers and shit. But you want like one element to be peacocking and the other ones are just standing next to it. Like you want one element to be showing off and then like obviously your kick and snare to drive the rhythms. But then you really don't want more than one main thing at a time. Like you're looking for not you because it's a bird, but like a hypothetical female peacock is like looking for a hot, or is it? I think it's the males that have like the pretty feathers, but they're like looking for a mate,
yeah.
and they don't want too many options. Like they can't pick between this one that's got like purple feathers and pink feathers, and then a red feathered one. You just want to have like make it nice and simple. There's this one right in front of them, got all these pretty colors. They're not fighting.
I mean, he's
That's
spitting though. Yeah, Dino, he's spitting though. I mean, these are
I
facts.
swear I've heard. I swear I didn't come up with that on my own. Blame someone else for my craziness.
But yeah, all in all, though, as far as arrangement, sound design, and even the usage of all of the sound design improvements, I feel like this is definitely the best yet. So I'm excited to see you continue down this path because you have the sound designs there. I feel like you have all the elements that you need. You have the lyrics go really hard with the sounds as well. Like the way that they work in the song together is great. Yeah, I feel like it's just getting those final little things down when it comes to mixing. And yeah, with songs like these, yeah, I'll say it again. Those mid basses, like they need to be almost the only thing there. I would even reference a lot of other tracks if you're really curious about this. But the thing that I've noticed is if you do want to keep some of this melodic energy, the best option is to periodically introduce it. So like something that I do, unless it's a pad element, which is usually sitting in a very far background kind of mix environment. If it's like a really lead element, what I will do is I will have, moments of it that are very aggressively there, but then the rest of it is just basically just the main mid bass. So like a lot of the times what I do is the classic dub thing where you have like the offbeat, what is it, like a chord or whatever, like you have that like one chord that's like every like dun, dun, like you always have like that one chord that's happening. It's kind of like that. I do that a lot because I found that works. But yeah, like the idea here is very precise, small amounts of the forward melodic element that can work. But I find that if you have this whole motif happening the whole time, you may as well turn the mid bass into the motif. That's
Big
usually
brain
what I
right
do.
here.
That's usually what I do personally. When I do,
What's that one volume track? I think it's Monotony that we like played like a section of the intro of that one and then the drop. I'll send it to you. I think that's a good ref for like this kind of motif based neuro stuff.
yeah, if you DM it, I got you. But yeah, keep it pushing, bro.
Yeah,
I really
that
like
one.
this picture too.
Yeah,
I think the picture
it
goes
has good
hard.
colors. That one is purple. I can agree with that.
Yeah, so like he took that like he took like the
Like
main
boom,
motif.
boom, boom, and then the bass goes boom, 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 and it's the same thing, and it's the bass, and it's cool.
Yeah, and I think you could do that in this track, and that would actually remove the whole issue that I was talking about earlier with the synth getting too repetitive, because then you would have the bass doing that during the drops, and then you'd bring it back to the breakdowns and intros and outros and things like that, doing just the melodic aspect. So that could actually really help even that issue as well. But yeah, dude, keep flexing, my guy. I love the sound design. You're cooking. All right, Jess said to reload his, so I'm reloading.
Whoa, that water is cool, but I don't know how it's not spilling out of that little compartment. I would be scared taking pictures there.
Yeah, true. Wait, is it real water? No, maybe it's not. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think that's real water. That's the Pacific Ocean looks like that. None of the other oceans though.
Yeah. But no, yeah, Jess, I will have to fade out your track. I'm sorry, but we love you, bro. Oh, skip to 210. Oh, okay. All right. Let me, all right, here we go. Changing tides.
One way or another, every living thing here needs me. I'm the source. I'm what they crawled out of. I covered this entire planet once. I'm water. I'm most of this planet. every stream, every cloud, and every raindrop, it all comes back to me. I'm the ocean.
Well, that was quite a chill journey.
That was a vibe. It fit the wavy aesthetic.
Well, you can kick us off, Percy.
All right, now kick us off. How does it mix in general thoughts? It was quiet to me. I don't know, Magda, was it quiet on your end?
Yeah, and I have it turned
I
up.
saw you looking at the volume, yeah. It was it was like a good it was hitting at like negative 14 lufs, and I know it's turned down a little bit for the stream purposes, but it was still like I don't know. I would definitely boost, and it didn't feel like there was because one element was super loud and it was like everything else was quiet. It just felt like the entire thing could be turned up a little bit. Not like dB, but probably like Melda compressor on the master type vibe, maximized to 0 dB. Trust, it works.
Limiter, clip, all that
Yep.
stuff.
Boost 50 decibels into a limiter. Never fails. But I think that the vibes were pretty good. There was some weird stereo stuff, but it wasn't too bad. It was like bordering on the level where it would like bother my ear, but I think it just skirted that guideline where it felt, or like not guideline, but just skirted that amount of paniness where it felt interesting and not like not bad necessarily, but that's we only listened to part of the song, like the second half. So I could feel like if it's the whole song, then that might get boring or like might feel a little bit gimmicky throughout the whole time. But I liked it for this section. What do you got to say about that question, Mac? Do it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you about the loudness thing. I think that if you put some clippers on your individual tracks or even your mix buses at the least, and just trying to turn it up into the clipper, like, so if you set your clipper ceiling to like some arbitrary number to where you're hoping to get enough headroom, like maybe like -6 or even -12 if you want to be like really, really, you know, dynamic. I would say doing something like that and then turning up into the clipper until you hear distortion and then turning it back is the best way to go, because when you hear the distortion, then you know that it's too loud. So you turn it back down until you don't hear the distortion, then you know it's gotten a lot louder without actually changing the sound. So like you're not going to be like distorting it or breaking it or anything like that. You're just making it louder. And yeah, that's what I would always recommend to a lot of people. But the big thing here is I kind of disagree with Percy a little bit. I think that like he was nudged in the direction that I was basically feeling. I just don't like the constant panning of main elements. I don't know, like it's something that you can do, but it has to be done for like very short periods of time for it to stay interesting. But then again, that comes down to like a lot of the reference music that I listen to. You know, like I mean, like I would say if you listen to a lot of instruments where they do that, or sorry, not instruments, but groups or tracks where they do that, I would say send me those tracks first of all, because I'm curious to see like how they do it and it sound good. But also, if they are doing it, maybe see how they're doing it, because and by that I mean like listen to how often they're doing it, because I can't imagine that they're doing it the whole time. And yeah, I don't know. It feels like Percy was saying, like it feels like a little bit gimmicky, and it's something that I immediately notice as weird. Like I don't enjoy the feeling. I dislike the feeling. But yeah, so track bus master for the clipper tracks. Yeah. I mean, like do it as granular as a level as you feel is necessary for your track. But yeah, I would say that clippers, limiters, compressors, all of those things can help you, complete this journey of getting a track from quiet to loud, and it still sound like everything is belonging or sounding the way that it did originally, just louder. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I do think that it's a really good idea, but yeah, I don't know. When I hear like the mid bass and everything's right there, like nice and sturdy, and then I've got like the main element bass going all over the place, and then I've also got hi-hats going all over the place. I don't know, it just feels weird to me. But yeah. It's the way your brain goes toward naturally trying to be. I mean, like, here's the thing, like, compare it to another song that you like listening to. Even if it's not like something where they do that, just reference some music that you really like and see how much they do it, you know? Like if they do it a lot, by all means, like keep doing it, but I just it instinctually feels weird to me. Like I immediately feel kind of off put by it. And it's mainly because there's nothing in that center space to like help push an idea, you know, or help create like a vibe for me to latch onto. It's all kind of moving around, so it's hard for me to like grab on. You have a little bit of that with the bass, but like a lot of your drums are doing that and your main mid elements doing it, so it's just very hard to like, I don't know.
And it's like it's kind of a creative decision, but it's a creative decision that like it can be, it kind of actively disorients me a little bit to hear. And like just cuz
What are you gonna say?
yeah,
Something?
well, sorry.
No,
No, you go.
it's just it's so unnatural. That's I think why.
Yeah.
Because like none of that will never happen in nature. Like it wouldn't happen live at a show. Like if someone's playing a group of instruments, like I get the whole like, okay, let's pan some of the guitars left and some of the guitars right. Like I get that because that kind of emulates what a live band would do in person. Yeah, but when you're doing that, what Percy was just doing, when you're doing that's just so unnatural, and I think it feels unnatural. And I don't know. Like sometimes that's cool, right? Like you can execute that feeling as a moment in time that separates the listener from the natural feeling that you've kind of conveyed thus far. But if you do it for too long, I feel like it feels weird. But yeah, once again, those are just my opinions. I mean, it's just going to be really hard to get it to like feel focused. And I think a lot of the tracks that I enjoy are tracks that are very focused and very like this is what we're like. Now, obviously if we're talking about ambient, you know, there's room for this kind of behavior, but I think the problem is even then you have something in the middle that is stationary, and that kind of stuff is almost like a background element. It's never like this main element that is panning all over the place. It's always like, you know, some ambient texture layer that's underneath everything else or something like that. But yeah, sorry. Just
It's like maybe even you can get like a similar, try scratching that itch in your brain with like the like a phaser or something. Like try other stuff that gets like that warbly vibe that isn't like panning focused. Like try a tremolo, try like because I think it's similar in ways to like we always gravitate towards wubs and like these wavy volume automations, but it's just way more disorienting than the other options. So like try a flanger, try a phaser, try a tremolo, try a wah filter, like make it go wah wah wah. Like anything that has that similar vibe but isn't panning stuff left and right would be like a massive improvement in like aesthetic to my ear. So just play around with that stuff.
And if you really, really, really do want to experience that sort of feeling, I would say use it in a way that is almost like transition related, or like there's something called the Doppler effect. And I would say you should strive towards that feeling in your song, because that's a very natural thing that can happen. So like I would strive towards that and not what you're currently doing. Like, and that's just like my opinion, but I just think that like if you look for things that are natural that kind of create this sort of sensation, you will be able to achieve a lot more of a like excited listener. You know, the listener will be more excited about it because it'll feel more familiar and less, you know, totally out there. Which, don't get me wrong, like I just said, you can definitely get away with this kind of stuff in like little spurts, like in moments of your track. But I think it's just when it becomes like the whole thing is when things get a little bit weird. Not too weird though. I still think it's cool, but it's just, yeah, not my cup of tea. But anyway, yeah. On to the next question, I suppose. How are you beautiful humans days going?
Well,
busy,
Magduet's a cyborg. We've established he's a robot, so
What did you say? Oh shoot! Sorry, my
yeah, the filter
my
broke.
program was malfunctioning there.
We gotta
Sorry.
mind wipe everybody. They figured it out.
Yeah, hang on. Let me go get my my pen here. I'm just kidding. Imagine if I had one. That'd be
You know,
crazy.
open.
No, the closest thing I have is this really bright light.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Flashbang. God damn.
All
Sorry to
right.
any epileptic viewers.
All right. You've forgotten everything. All right. Yeah. Doing great. Busy but good. What about you, Percy? How's your day been?
I'm chilling. I slept until like 4 p.m., so I'm kind of resigned to. I just got my sleep schedule fixed too, and then I got inspired, stayed up all night, fell asleep at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Now it's all fucked up again. I think I'm just nocturnal, man. Like I've phase shifted to the nighttime. It's my calling, I guess.
He's actually he's a what is it, an owl, or what other predators hunt at night?
Yeah.
An owl.
Oh, that's a good one.
There's gonna be
Bats.
the third. Oh yeah, bats. Yeah, bats.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Are bats? Yeah, they're like insects. They eat insects, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
yeah. They eat a lot of insects. Oh, raccoons. There
Yeah.
you go.
Raccoons. No, but
But we
Hokey
already
Boy's already the raccoon.
and I felt
Are
bad about
wolves
saying.
nocturnal? I'll feel cool being a wolf.
I think so. Yeah, they have
Yeah,
to be.
that's yeah. Like every middle schooler, bro. I can put like that cool wolf profile picture on with like the neon colors and the sunglasses.
Yeah,
I
that
know
would,
I'm not a possum. I don't I don't take that title.
I get up once every 17 years. Dang, dude.
Bro is a vampire.
He's a vampire for sure.
He gets up he's like in a movie, like once every 17 years, the protagonist has to face you and like the cycle that repeats or something.
He's the guy from Dracula Flow, dude. Of course.
Oh my
Of
God.
course, dude.
The real Dracula.
But yeah,
We
I
need,
mean,
what happened to the Dracula Flow samples? I feel like those were trending so hard for a while. We need to bring them back.
they're good. They're fire, you know? Like I think the newest one was so like real that it was sad, and then that's what turned me off to the whole Dracula Flow. Like I loved all of them, And then was it like the 5th one that came out, dude? It was
Yeah.
too real. It was like too bad. Like it was like
It went from funny to like, oh damn, I could see myself to like not see myself, but like I kind of see myself.
he's like, not the brain bugs. And I'm like, oh god.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
He went in like the bad pond water, bro. His brain's just like getting eroded by the bacteria.
Yeah, facts. But anyway, what was the third question here? How is sound design on the melodic standpoint? Trying to get more details, atmosphere, and creative flows. Yeah, dude, I think the sound design is great. That's why I think I'm always so bummed out by the panning stuff when people do it. I'm like, the sounds are cool though. You don't need to like pan them. They're cool enough as is. Like, add some more elements. You know, I think that's one thing you can do is just add something else to fill the stereo space in that way. Like I said, I personally have even done lots of stuff where I'll have atmospheric elements panning, but it's so far back in the mix that it's almost subliminal and less focused, because the focused elements need to be very center and very straightforward.
It's like ping pong delay, fine. Panning the mid bass, not fine. We need to cut like a portion of the feedback stream and like squish everything to the left and have like a little vertical swath where we just like put a slideshow of our memes. So we need to have like the cut lows and mids meme, and then we can have like the call and response meme, and then we can have one that's like the Drake meme template where he's like panning mid bass, no delay, yeah. Dude, I think we need that. That's
Yeah, because it's like, honestly, it's not like Jest is alone in doing this. I feel like a lot of, including myself, I know I used to pan a lot of things that I should not have panned. So, and I guess it's one of those things where you can do it, right? But I guess do what you want, but also be conscious of what other people are doing, you know?
Yeah,
It's
like
kinda like-
songs. I can't listen to music with hard pan stuff. Like it bothers my ear. So like, there's a bunch of cool rap songs that maybe their beat has like a weird offbeat perk that's panned to the right and it's high end, and I just can't listen to it, and it's always a bummer. So I don't know. It's just like a creative decision that can actively discourage people from listening to your music.
And
Not like that sounds harsh. Sorry, but
no, you're good. No, yeah, I mean, well, I think that also he did say this is an old one of his, so maybe like his tastes have grown a little. This is one of those things where like I would say out of all of the things in this track, that was the thing that stuck out to me most negatively. But as far as the positives go, like you had a really interesting setting, like you had really good vocals. I think that the general timbres of everything was good. I think I wanted a more like forward timbre, but I think it was there. It was just being panned. And then, yeah, like I think all the drum selection was good. I really liked the way everything was sitting mix wise. Sure, it was a little bit quiet, but we talked about why that was as well. And yeah, no, I think like that's why like it's such a good idea, and that's why I think I get so irked by it, because like, yeah, it immediately it just doesn't hit for me. But
yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But I listen to
Yeah,
a
you
lot
don't
of
know.
music. I listen
You've
to
never
a lot
made
of
any music before.
Oh, dude, I've made like at least 0 songs. I'll tell you that much.
That's crazy, man. Me too.
Maybe even 0.5 songs. Okay. Yeah. So gotta watch out for that. But yeah, thank you, Jess. That was a really cool track. I hope that you pick it back up. I'd be interested to see how these changing tides change.
That was a good one. I
Look
see
what
what you did there.
Yeah.
Flanger. Or is it flang? No, it's
Flanga.
flanga.
Flang 4.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a flanger pun or like a flanger? Like I'm gonna flang you across the room, like in a country accent.
What if
Which
it's
one do we
flan?
think it is?
What if it's like flan and then he's going like guh?
Flanga. I like that. I like that interpretation the most.
All right, let's jump into this.
Burn down.
used it better myself.
Burn him down.
Alrighty.
Well then.
I think you should draw the track arrangement thingy, the 1632. Do you think that's needed here? I kind of think it's needed here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll draw it, but I think he knows. I think he knows what it means. But I should probably draw it for later anyway. But no, I think yeah, you're speaking facts. It's one of these things where we want some of this action. Yeah. Oh,
Why did it make it so big?
what do you mean? It's like the perfect size.
No, it is the perfect size, but it's so weird how like you select that tiny part and it's like, you know what? Have the biggest fucking text box we can possibly make.
I think I made it big the last time, and it
Oh.
just remembered the size, so it's fine. It's
Yeah.
perfect. But yeah, no, that's basically I think what we want. Yeah. Oh wait, maybe I should draw like just like a little eye drop breakdown. that B is so
Nice
good.
B, man.
That B
If
is
you look at it from the side, it's like, oh, never mind. I'm not gonna.
Oh, that is such a good B. We're keeping that one.
That's wonderful.
We're keeping that one. All right, and then D2. All right. Oh.
What about the outro, Mag? Do it. You're letting us
Outros are
down.
for-
Come
oh,
on.
Yeah, okay. All right. Is there a way to make this bigger? Or do I have to drag it over? Hang on.
We only have room for like 4 bars of outro.
for outro. Hang on a second. There we go. Maybe 8 bar outro. All right. Sorry, that B is getting me every time. All right, but no, so the idea here is if you have a structure like this, I think you'll be flexing. Oh, you shorten the track to fit 3 minutes, screenshotting this. Yeah, please. I'll actually save this. with the B and everything, because you got to have the B.
Yep.
But no, so the idea here is you want to have a really structured track so that way people can expect things. I think like the expectation of something happening is actually sometimes as powerful, if not more powerful in certain situations, than the build-up elements themselves. So like obviously having, the frequency reductions and the reversed hi-hats or reverse crashes and risers and all that stuff helps, but this helps even more, at least with like solidifying what's happening. Because if you've already had hang on, let me save this real fast. If you've already had these first two sections happen, then these next two sections feel really natural, because it's like, oh, well, it's like I've already experienced this, so it's like I'm ready for that to happen again. Versus, yeah, if it's not doing that, then it feels a little bit weird, but you can still get away with it. It just requires more really clean transitioning.
Even when it doesn't follow this exactly, I feel like it usually follows it. So like you can, if you zoom in any one of those 32 bar sections, it's like the fractal theory of arranging, copyright the flock. If you zoom in on the 32 bar section, you might have a 12 and then a 4 and then another 12 and another 4, where you have like 12 bars of drop and then like 4 of a little fill or like glitchy section. But you can zoom in and get these little granular details, and you can change that all you want, like add little breaks in your drop, any of that stuff. But I think if you zoom out, even on those really complex arranged tracks, I feel like you still end up with this general pattern, just like if you zoom into a Mandelbrot set, it looks really complex, and then you zoom out, and it's like, whoa, this is the same pattern just fucking popping up again. And I think like that's really important to consider, is that even when you have or you're trying to reference these really complex arranged tracks, it's usually just like slicing up this section or this like a general layout into more and more sections. But like it still fits within this context if you zoom out to the whole track.
Yeah. But basically, I think that this, you're alluding to the fact that it didn't flow naturally, and I kind of agree. Well, here, yeah, you finish what you wanted to say on that, because I feel like, I don't know. I think that my issue is there are these transition elements, but they don't feel like they're like articulated in the most perfect way. Like they're good, they're there when they need to be, but I think they could be leveled up ever so slightly from the arrangement of them. So like, for example, like something I do a lot is when I have a reverse cymbal or a riser or like a white noise thing, I will cut it really aggressively and create room right before transitions. And I feel like that kind of stuff could really benefit these kind of tracks where you have a transition happening, but on yours, they're kind of these smooth, like the transition's happening, and then it like goes all the way to that break point that until, the drop is here, but you want to have that transition stop like over here, not right here. You want to have it stop like right here. Yeah, continuous. Yeah, perfect. I would say make them a little less continuous and you'll create greater tension, like more tension, which is what the people want. We want the tension, bro. Yeah. Exactly. And I feel like that is something that's worth practicing, because it's not always easy to get the first time around, but you'll see it's quite fun to play with that element of kind of silence, basically,
Yeah.
right before your drops.
I
But
think
anyway.
it's like I think of it like you want continuous fading out into states of lower energy. So going from a drop into a break, you want to have a more fadey, like a release. If you think about it as an envelope, like say you want like a pluck, you have it fade out at the end into the state of lower energy, but the beginning is like a quick sharp rise. So I think like when you're moving into a drop, you want that sharp like almost jump from like one energy level to the next one. Like it builds up, it drops down, and then you're like, bam, here. And then as you finish the drop, you kind of like taper off into the new section. But like, I think that when you're going to more energy, you want that to be a very contrasty thing. to kind of help define the arrangement a lot. So like what Magduit was saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, I guess, let's see, mix, clarity, and balance. I won't lie. This is an arrangement thing, actually, still, song structure thing, or maybe even sound design, or both. I immediately thought of Rumble when I was listening to this. I don't know if that's good or bad. To me,
I made a note of that.
yeah. Well, you flex on it then, yeah, because you know
No,
what
no,
I mean.
you flex on it.
You
said
know
it
what I
first.
mean. Like it's just like I get it, but also too soon. Maybe it's a too soon moment, and like eventually it'll be fine. But I do think that like it doesn't feel fresh because of that, and I don't know if that's good or bad. You know, it's like the same kind of vibe. But it's a really cool vibe. Like I get it. Like it's a fun thing to do. So this is tough, you know? It's like I think that it doesn't make sense doing it though when you have this as a drop. Like I think that is better to lead with, even like just getting rid of the sub and just having like elements of that feeling, that timbre, than having the sub doing this. But those are my thoughts on that. I think you could get away with this being just less subby, and then, you know, that's what you could put in these sections. And then it'll also feel more connected. But
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
you can keep going. Yeah, that's just my
I
thought.
think this is it. I don't know how to critique the mix here. Everything I want to say keeps going back to arrangement, like you said. Like I feel like I'm missing call and response here in a lot of places. Like it kind of feels like one sustained bass, or like not sustained bass, but like one big bar section goes into another big bar section, and there's either not cohesion between them necessarily, or they're not. I don't know how to phrase this. Like it doesn't feel necessarily like the elements are connected, and when they are connected, it feels like it's the exact same thing. Yeah, I think that in Dino, I don't think there always has to be call and response, like in the classical sense of like womp 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 womp. Like you don't necessarily have to have that really defined call and response, but call and response in a broad sense is just contrast in a way that like makes things feel like yin and yang, in a way that like meshes with each other and they both play off each other. So I think in a sense there does have to be call and response always, because that contrast and like things that contrast against each other nicely is what makes music fun to listen to, in my opinion.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think call and response is like key.
Well, yeah, I think a great example is when he has this second bass. So you have this like second bass come in, and I feel like that should have happened sooner. Like that contrast sounds so cool. And I think if you had that as like the response as you're kind of like dictating there, I think that is like what you want. Like that, like if you have that kind of stuff happening sooner, that feeling, because you definitely get the feeling here. Like you totally get it. I think it's just you might want to go for it more often, because then you will be able to keep us like fully engaged. I think that's my thought process, because it's a really, you have great sounds. Your mix is good. I do think that the low mid harmonic here is like a little bit loud, but that's not like, that's super nitpicky. It's really not that necessary. The big thing here is you have good sounds and you have good drums, you have good ideas. I think that there just needs to be like slight more variation in between each section, because you've got like even that sounds great. I do think, by the way, this is just like something I forgot to mention, but I want to mention it now. That little offbeat vocal thing that's saying something, I actually don't know what it's saying.
Burn him down.
I think you should make sure that down, yeah, make sure you can hear the down in that offbeat vocal, because I want to keep hearing it go like down, down, down. You know, like I want to keep hearing like that as the offbeat vocal thing there. But anyway, yeah, keep flexing. Those are I don't really have much to say here either, honestly. For the
It's
balance.
I find it hard to give like comments on mix specifically just because I don't listen to a lot of the deeper. I don't listen to too much of this kind of music, so I don't know like how much the basses should be filling up the spectrum or like how the space should sit. So I'm just gonna be 100% honest. Like I'm not the best at giving feedback on that granular. I need to listen to more stuff like this so I can give better insight onto it, I've realized.
Yeah, I mean, from a
But
harshness perspective, if that's what you're worried about, like the muddy thing, maybe in the basses a little bit, in the low mids, because it's taking energy away from the subs slightly. But other than that, man, like you have like nice, clean, high end presence. It's not too harsh. You've got really interesting mid range. You definitely have that shape. Like I said, the low mids are a little bit loud, but once you get that down a little bit, you'll have the shape down to a T. But yeah,
is it just me or do you feel like that one specific bass patch could use like a Fletcher Munson curve EQ or like something just to shape the high end a little bit? I don't know if it's just like a my ears thing. It's not necessarily harsh, but I think just like some shaping of the high end there could be nice to mess around with. And that's just like a personal like sound design preference. I don't think it's necessarily bad by any means, but that just stuck out to me a little bit.
I mean, yeah, I think the big thing, I agree. And now that you mention it, I think that it's too static. Like whenever I shape high end these days, like I'm trying to make it very dynamic. So, you know, I'm either using the copycat noise bass trick, or I'm using texture, which is like a plugin for adding things in very like precise manner to like already existing sounds, or I'm doing something with like envelope shaping, like that's affecting the noise. All of it is like this dynamic thing. So
Yeah.
I would say experiment with maybe even gating it. Cause I know you could do this. I know you're in FL. You could always just attach an envelope shaper to like the high end, and then just gate that, or even a volume knob and gate that, right? Like it doesn't have to be like, I'm sorry, a volume knob and envelope shape that, not gate it, but envelope shape. The key here is dynamicness in the high end frequencies, because the more of that you can get, I mean, heck, you could even, that is something that you can LFO back and forth very quickly as well and make flutter bass type stuff, which is like a true technical term. If you want to look up how to make those, you can look up how do I make flutter basses, and there's tons of videos on that. But the idea here is having dynamicness in those high frequencies of your basses can be really beneficial. Even if it's something as simple as putting like space to them, you know, like I think if he added some reverb, like room reverb, that kind of stuff can help out a lot. But yeah, I agree with you, Percy, on that one. How effective and unique do the minimal melodic elements feel in completing the rhythm and sub bass? Are the areas where the sound design could be enhanced to create more movement, texture, or sonic interest? I mean, we kind of
Went over that last one, yeah.
Yeah. I think that the sound design could be a little bit spicier, and you could go a little bit deeper with it. You know, I think your sound design, especially in these last sections here, are absolute gas, super fire. I just think we want more of that, more variation to that happening more quickly and soon in the arrangement. But yeah, still overall really cool track. I think that I'm always impressed with the sound design, because definitely this is stuff that I haven't heard before.
I really like that one with like the resonant filter. That one's pretty dope.
It's very chordal. Like it's very like almost color based, you know? Like there's hinting of like resonant things happening, but then obviously
So what
it's
you're
not.
saying is put chroma on the master.
Oh yeah, put chroma on the master and you have yourself a
Problem
banger.
solved.
Chroma and 6 OTTs, maybe even 7. Oh, actually no, sorry, 10 sound goodizers, because you're in FL. Yeah, you need more sound goodizers in FL to get that same effect. I'm just kidding. Please don't do that, please. Please don't.
We need that one meme that's like you turning the knob on Soundgoodizer and it's the text from Jesus at the top that's like, I'm watching you. I need to dig that one up.
Yeah. Oh, too late. Oh, okay. Well, I'll pray for our ears next week then.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you, good sir. All right, next up we've got common denominator. Denominator. That's a tough word to say when you're trying to say it quick. Mix B, subconscious sound.
So much has changed, yet so much remains. It's always been you. You are the common denominator.
All right, Percy. You flex first.
Wow, have me starting out.
Yeah, I've been
right.
cutting you off too much. I feel.
Yeah, stop cutting me off, bro. You're like a bad driver, jeez. No, I don't think you've been cutting me off. I like the conversation feedback is good when there's not three people.
It's a vibe. No, I agree. Yeah, we didn't need
yeah.
Dino anyway.
Yeah, even though he's been in chat the entire stream, could have like called from his car or something. Jeez. Oh, he doesn't have Discord. Never mind. Anyways, tangent.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is there too much?
It's 3 minutes. All right, it's 3 minutes. I'm sorry. All right, we do love you guys, but
yeah, we gotta fade out. Otherwise, people would submit 20-minute songs, and we can't be having that.
It's 11 already, so be conscious.
Yeah,
of...
it's actually 10:56. It's not 11 yet.
Okay,
so
well, I'm rounding
sorry,
up
buddy.
by 4 minutes. All right. Anyway, I'm already cutting you off again, dude. All right.
Okay, is there too much difference between sections? Does it still feel cohesive even though it's not a typical bass music structure? There's a music video already made. Ooh, with a music video already made, It's probably a bit too late to be asking for like arrangement and cohesion and arrangement questions because it definitely like hard to go back and change all that if you have a music video going along with it. I feel like there were sections that felt like a build that kind of tapered off into like not a build, like kind of I don't know. There were a bunch of sections that kept making me think that a big drop was coming up, and then a drop didn't hit. And then when the drop did hit, I kind of wasn't expecting it to. So it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf, you know, like it keeps building up, and then it goes down, and then it builds up, and then it goes down. And then when it does build up, I'm like, okay, it's gonna keep going again. It's like a shepherd's tone, and then it drops, and I'm like, oh, it did it. So it's not necessarily an issue. Like that can kind of be a vibe, but it did throw me off a bunch. And maybe that's just my like monkey bass music fan brain where like every rise has to be followed by like 40 seconds of -2 luff drop. But it just felt off to me a little bit cohesion wise. And I don't even think it's that the sections were too different from each other. It was really just like that so the energy did not feel balanced throughout the track because of the way that it kept building up. Uh, but yeah, that's what I have to say about that part. What do you got to say on that, Magnuit?
I mean, I agree with you. I think one of the things that we may be missing here, just because of the context of it, and I do realize how important the context of it is the video. Like the video, I feel like the context of that with the song is what would help me personally make better
Yeah.
arrangement judgment.
Reminder, you can submit YouTube links, by the way. So if you have video content, feel free to submit it like that.
Yeah. Always feel as long as it's something that we can play through the web browser, it's totally fine. But obviously the preference is SoundCloud, but YouTube is also cool. I think the video context would probably help me make a little bit better decisions on this, but I do agree with what Percy is saying in the sense that from a pure arrangement musical standpoint, you have a really long period of time before you finally get to the drop. And yeah, when it does drop, it doesn't feel like I was not expecting it at all. Whereas there were many situations before that where I was like so ready for that to happen. And the only thing that I can think of that would help that in the context of my own brain is a video, like maybe just like doing something else to help it along. But like I said, I didn't have that, so I wasn't really sure. I do think, by the way, your question about the super saws, they didn't sound like shit. I think they
No,
sounded
they're
fine.
sounding chill.
Yeah,
I like 'em.
I think that maybe like ever so slightly harsh, like just little smidge, like little smidge, on the high frequencies of them. Like here, I'll play them again. Let me just find them here. Mainly like that 3K range, and then also the low mids. Maybe the low mids a little bit less thick, just so that way that sub stands out a little bit more. But other than that, I thought it was great. But yeah, continue, Percy. What did you think? Did the super saws sound like shit?
No, I think they sounded pretty good. It was a see with super saws, it's weird. I think they sounded like they sounded all right. Like they sounded good even. But I think with super saws, it's one of those things where like you could spend like a whole day and make them sound amazing with like mid-side processing, which is really big on super saws, with like really extensive layering of like a bunch of different stuff. But the question is like in this kind of track, I'm not sure that you need to. And I don't mean like in this kind of track in like a demeaning way. It's I like this genre. It makes me feel happy and it reminds me of like some older EDM that I used to listen to. But I think just like the simple saws fit really well here. So I don't know if you would need to do that extra step to make it like the perfect super saw. I think just like a little bit of that EQing would be nice. But if you really wanted to play around with layering, do like some of those unison super saws, like do a low layer where you low pass it and then like cut the mids so it's like or not you low pass it then cut the lows and low mids and then you can do another layer that's mid, and you don't really cut anything except like the lows, and then you kind of roll off the highs, and that one can have a little bit less detune. Then do another layer where it's like the highs. That one has more detune. You layer in a square and an octave up. Then you layer in noise, and then you high pass the noise in the square alongside and then the super saw itself doesn't get high pass. And then you do like mid side processing on all those. But that's like a lot of work coming from someone that spent like the greater part of the last week doing future based saws. I don't know if it's needed here, but that's just some direction if you really wanted to like min max those super saws.
Yeah, I mean, my
But
opinion is that it's worth it. Like, because I did, I was trying to find this track that I made a while back, and I just wanted to show you this one part. And I feel like when you layer things, you can get like a full sound. And there's even like noise layers on there, right? But the idea here is like you can get full sounds, but they're not harsh. Like the thing is here, I feel like you have a little bit of the opposite happening where it's not a very full sound because you're only using maybe like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 patches. And it's very focused. And then it's also a little bit harsher because you're relying on just those few tracks or instruments to kind of create that fullness. Where if you had like, I mean, I think in that track that I just shared, like I probably had 7 or 8 layers to that one sound.
yeah,
And like,
can you show off my super saw track too? I sent it.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think
Because I couldn't send it for Feef, so I'm sobbing.
yeah, what let's see the timestamp. What time should I play? Like, but yeah, having those like layers, because what happens is you're relying on all these different instruments to create the fullness, so that which means that each one can be doing its own little section of the frequencies. So like you can have a low mid saw wave that's really focused on the low mids, and then you can even have a sub that's separate from all of that so that you have a clean low end. And then you can have like a mid-range saw wave that maybe there's like 2 or 3 saw stacks that are all different shapes in the high mids and mid-range. And then of course, like in my case, I don't know if Percy did this, but I even had like a whole nother high frequency layer that was literally like a noise layer. And I feel like that really helps like create this feel of width and fullness, but it doesn't create anything harsh. Like even in this track, yeah, Percy, you did a great job. There's like no harsh. Gosh, is this volume? Like what's going on here, dude? You're getting crazy with it. But no, like but that's my thought process on the saws, and I think it's worth it. Like I would look up like how to make saw stacks.
I have a video I can send in chat or just post in the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
I think like another thing is reference super saws in songs, and I think you will be surprised by how little frequencies they take up, but how well they're mapped around the sounds that they're like in context of. Like super saws are not as wall of sound as they feel like. I think that good super saws are like very carefully sculpted around the other elements so that they really fill in space, but in a way less harsh way than you would think when you're talking about a super saw. And I think that's why all the layers kind of are so cracked for this stuff, because you can like, it's kind of like having a multiband compressor, except it's like multiband layering. Like you can fit in every little section of the frequency spectrum. Hey, I want like a not so detuned saw in the mids because I need some more mid padding here. And then I want like a really wide and almost noisy high end. So let's use a lot of detuning and a lot of like noisy air. And then let's high pass all that. And you can kind of like really, it shouldn't be this big wall of sound like a dubstep bass is what I've come to realize. And from your track too, you definitely seem to have realized that as well. Magduit. But yeah, super saws are fun but hard.
Yeah, I think that they do require like the TLC to be able to get them to where you want them to be. But this is like the pristine start. Like you have like the saw wave start but this is like just one of those patches. So once you start like being conscious of, like, I would say this is a great mid section for that saw stack. Like, it's like a perfect mid section for that saw stack. Now you just need like the low end element and maybe the high end elements to be more precise. It's not that it's not good here, but if you really want it to be like that full, just like, and I feel like that's the vibe here. Like, I think it would really go well with this style of music where you have like this full, almost, over encompassing saw stack. But like I said, it's not harsh, and it's like you can't I can probably say you only used one synth, and I shouldn't be able to say that. I am almost certain you did, but maybe I'm wrong. But it feels like you really only used like one synthesizer here, where I feel like if you broke up all of the different roles, it would, into different synthesizers, it would be pristine. But they still don't sound like shit, though. They sound good, but just not as good as they could be. And that's why we're nitpicky. That's why we're the Feef lads, all right? We get real up in here.
We don't get real up in here.
Oh
'cause
yeah,
you said
Real's
no to
never
the
here.
beat.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. He was here a couple times though, and hopefully he'll come back again. But yeah, keep flexing on the questions, Percy.
Let me tab back in. I was looking for it. It deleted my video link. That's really sad. I'll have to.
You'll have to DM
This
it
one-
to him.
Yeah. Okay, where's the questions? I gotta scroll up. Is the sub clean enough in the final drop? Oh, it's been a sec. Will you replay the final drop? I don't think it sounded bad. There's like a, yeah, that's good. There's like it's not a sustained second harmonic, but it like, cause it's a Reese, it kind of like the second harmonic fades in and out. I was noticing on the spectrum, and it didn't like it didn't sound super muddy to my ear, but I think that maybe just like getting rid of the second harmonic in your saw or whatever would be a good step towards that. I don't know. I don't think it sounded bad though, but maybe like also bring up the volume a little bit. I'm not sure. What did you think about the sub?
I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I think it could have also been a little lower, honestly. I think you could have had like that true like sub layer a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And then kind of separate it from where it is currently and gotten away with whatever was happening in those second harmonics. But you're not wrong, Percy. Like it, because there's this it's like this second harmonic here, because it's so close and so loud, it like steals energy away from the fundamental. The big rule of thumb is if it doesn't go above the fundamental, then it's fine. But if it's at the same level or above the fundamental, then it's something to usually worry about, because you know it's going to be taking energy away from that sub, which is not what we want. We want that thing to be full of energy, full of spunk, some sass even.
Full of spunk.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sass, spice. It needs to be everything. It needs to be
So it's like one of those bagels with like every topping on it.
exactly.
Everything.
It's an everything. It needs to be an everything bagel, actually. Yeah,
But not everything in the sense that it has all the harmonics. You don't
Yeah.
want that. So it's like a some things bagel.
Then it's just noise. Then it's just
Yeah.
noise.
Is that the
white
end
noise.
game? Just start submitting noise tracks for Feef.
And then let's see, what was the last question? Are there too many melodic elements in the final drop, or does it work? I think it worked. I think it was good. Yeah, I think it had like just the right amount of things. If you really wanted to be super like conscious about it, I think that
Like the vocal chops could flex more, not gonna lie. But that's
Yeah.
about it.
yeah, and maybe be a little bit less loud. Just like this much less loud, like teeny little bit less loud. I think that because they're so panned, I don't know if they should be as loud as like the lead main elements, because once again, it's taken away energy from that focus. But I still think they sound good. I actually am in the boat where I think they actually sound kind of good. It's got like a little bit of a, whatchamacallit, a little bit of like a pop element-esque thing to it, which isn't always horrible. I just think that it's like so forward in the mix for something that's so aggressively panned. It's like jumping around my head and stuff, but like it's as loud as, you know, the mid bass or the mid synth, and then even like the tremoloed vocally synth thing. And yeah, it's just a little bit loud, but yeah.
We've started a crusade against panning recently.
I mean, it's just, no, I think actually this is a great example of it being done right. I would say this was done great. I liked the panning. It's just that it's a little too loud, a little too forward in the mix. Like I said, you can pan aggressively. It just can't be like, yo, this is the main element. Like, that's just not my thing, you know, and that's just how it is for me. Unless, of course, you're doing it for very short periods of time. But this is one of those things, again, where it's happening through the whole section, you know? So we want to make sure it's a little bit quieter than some of those main elements. Like, you know, I would say the most main mid element is that tremolo, you know, that's basically the lead synth that I think should be most forward, at least in the mid range, in comparison to the vocal pan thing. But you can see here how when he is panning, at least he's doing it in chops. It's almost like a ping pong effect, you know?
Yep.
And I think that works really nicely where you have short bursts.
It balances it out. It's like you don't just have one thing going to the right or like and staying there. It's like
short bursts in each direction. And it's not like this thing where it's going like this. It's going like pew, 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 you know?
Yeah.
With those sound
it's like
effects.
dual wielding, bro. He's got like his dual Berettas. He's shooting in both directions.
He's holding them sideways too. Yeah,
maybe even upside down.
Upside down.
Really flex it on him.
But no, dude,
Also,
really cool.
Dino, we skipped your track because you edited it after we started. It'll be at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Dino. But yeah, no, I think you should work on those ideas. Maybe kind of experiment a little bit if you feel up to it, and post this again with the video next week, because I think it would be really fun to see this evolve, because this sounds like very cinematic. I feel like the video helps a lot, so I look forward to seeing that. But thank you, Subconscious Sound. We appreciate the submission. All right, next up, we got Hive Mind Whip Hollow Squared.
Oh,
Squared, bro.
sacrificing search engine optimization to look cool. No, I'm just kidding. Damn. That fucks. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was hype. That was very hype. It was like,
Oh, I'll grab questions. Oops.
yeah, it was like almost metal, but not, you know, like that's kind of my favorite sauce. Like, metal for me is a little bit too much, but this is like a step before that, which is like just right. Um,
What the? I can't find the
Rhythm
link.
trance. Dino's over here trying to come up with new styles of music. Rhythm trance, dude.
Dude, just because he named it wrong the first time, he's got to cover his butt now. Why can't I find this?
Rhythm
What the heck?
That is spicy. It's so
Okay.
spicy. If I see a track that has that as the genre, I'm gonna have to listen to it.
Okay, here we go.
Oh yeah, here I think I saw. So I need mostly advice mostly on vocal mixing. Well, I guess I do a lot of that. I mean, I'm one of those people that really wants to be like able to understand what people are saying, and I can't quite understand what you're saying, which is not always good. I would say the biggest thing that I would focus on if I was you is just making the vocals more forward in the mix. That doesn't necessarily mean like changing the vocals or changing the mix. It just means that you might want to dynamically approach removing frequencies from the mix of like everything that isn't the vocals with the vocals. So, unmasking tools exist like Pure Unmask. You can also use dynamic compression, like multiband compression, like Pro MB. You could use dynamic EQ with Pro Q, or even dynamic EQ with other plugins. I know that there's a free one called, TDR Nova works really well. You can use an envelope follower with a EQ in Ableton. I mean, yeah, something dynamic with the EQs to cut frequencies out that are masking the vocals, thus the unmasking. Oh, Percy's left us. Oh, he's back.
No. I had to turn the fan on.
Okay.
This track was too hot for me, man.
But no, those are my thoughts on the vocals. What do you think? Because that's like,
I don't know. I think this is the kind of song where you could maybe even do with not having vocals in the drops and just having them in like little break sections. Because I don't know if you want to take away energy from the synth stabs to have vocals. But that's just a personal. Like, I don't know what I would pick between having vocals and having them be more clear, or just having like pure unfettered synth stabs. That would be a hard decision for me. But I don't know. I think vocals that you can't tell what they're saying can also be like somewhat. They're not always bad, but like my example would be like funk music. You're not always able to understand like what the vocals are doing. They can be like a rhythmic or a background element. But I think it can be nice to have that sound only if you've already given us like the clear vocals. Like you play it in the intro where we can understand it, and then in the background of the drop, you have these vocals that are kind of just acting rhythmically, but you know kind of what's going on because you've already heard it cleanly. And that's I'm not the best about vocal mixing, but that's kind of how I would go about it, maybe. I
yeah,
don't know.
that's big brain. Yeah, well, like once you already know what it said, you kind of can like put in like you can put in the pieces. Like you can you already know like what it's going to say. So even if you can't really understand it as much anymore, you know what they're saying still, which I think is helpful. I mean, I'm really into lyrics, and I feel like if you can't understand the lyrics as like a listener who's listening to the track for the first time, it's kind of like a waste of the space. Like Percy was saying, like it's better at that point to just have like a fuller drop with no vocals in it, than to like muddy it with the vocals, for lack of a better word. But I do think that in this case, I want to hear more of the vocals. So I don't know. I think that the unmasking trick really works because it doesn't remove as much as you would think. I don't know how much unmasking you've practiced with Percy, but I will tell you that in my experience, it actually doesn't hurt the track too much. Like I would say, like
It kind of just masks stuff when you need the room. Like it doesn't feel like it takes much away because that's being filled by the vocals. It just kind of clears everything up.
right. I would say a good example is the way that sidechaining works with the kicks and snares, right? Like by sidechaining the track, it's not like you're removing the feeling of the heavy vibe of the track, but you're giving room to the kick and the snare, so that way when they're happening, the whole track feels more full. I think that the same is true with unmasking with vocals.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like lyrically rich stuff where you're really trying to say something that people need to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah. What else? Song structure and bass design. What do you think? What do you think, Percy?
They're fire. I love the basses, love the song structure. That at the end, that little break where we have like I don't know what to call it, but like just the offbeat bass in the break was fucking fire. That's like that's my jam. So I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I was
yeah,
thinking
to
that the whole time.
yeah.
I won't even lie. And don't get me wrong, I love noise basses, but I think that you overused the noise bass, and you could have used more of like the like the those. Dude, this section right here, when I heard that, I was so ready for it to drop into some of that timbre. Like I was so ready to hear more of that, but then it like never came back.
Yeah, like use that. It goes like bam, bam, and then have it go into like a little melody like that. Have it do like call and response and timbre would be pretty dope. Like one phrase with one synth and then follow it up with like the donkey or synth would go really hard here. Cause like you get more the bouncy rhythm is accentuated.
Oh, he's entered the lag zone. The bouncy rhythm is, and then just.
I'm back.
Oh, okay. I think you're back.
Yep.
Yeah. We heard the bouncy rhythm is, and then you just entered the lag zone, you know?
Yeah.
It's a scary
The bouncy
place.
rhythms get accented a lot more with the donk bass than they do with the noise bass, is how I feel. Because they're more staccato, I guess. So, like, do that call and response for sure.
Yeah. I think it sounds really nice the way that it happens already. It's just like more of that, I think, would be really crazy. Because I do think during like this kind of main middle section here, I do get a little bit tired of the noise bass. Like it's not until here though. That's why I was thinking during this section here when I heard that I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be like the nuttiest turn around into like some more of this. But then it kept being noise bass, and I was like, well, this isn't bad, but I think it could really flex with more of that sort of timbre. But yeah. I think structure-wise, everything seemed to work really nicely. I didn't really notice anything that was like off-putting. I thought the transitions were good. Yeah, I don't know about you, Percy, but that's how I feel. I didn't really notice anything bad about transition-wise. I feel like the song cuts off early, but I have a hunch that this is not the end of the song. And
Yeah, I don't think this is the end of it.
Yeah, so
because it's only 1:45, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 1:45. So I feel like there's more to this that we have yet to experience.
It's like we're paleontologists and we're like unearthing this fucking T-Rex of a tune, but we only have half the skeleton so far.
Yeah, we gotta find the like the hands, you know, the little arms.
The hands,
yeah,
the little
yeah, we gotta find those still, man. Right now, all we have is like, I guess we got the skull, which is pretty cool.
We got like the fingers at the very like that little break section where it's like bouncing back and forth, but we need the T-Rex arms.
Yeah, the arms are what make it like a full thing. But yeah,
yeah,
Jurassic Park theme.mp3 exactly.
Yeah, just put the Jurassic Park theme at the end. Actually, like just fill up the remaining minutes with that.
It goes hard. I mean, it goes hard. But yeah, thanks, Hollow. That was cool. That was a fun track. Yeah, keep flexing on that. I want to hear more of this. Make it 3 minutes.
A brachiosaur. That's a.
This song would be a You sure it wouldn't be this song that would be a brachiosaur? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I think
Pizza
that song
time.
was more of a stegosaurus, man. Like fucking stampeding stegosaurus, little spiky back spikes. That's
not a triceratops. I don't know, dude.
Dude, triceratops go hard, not gonna lie.
Or pterodactyl. Bro,
Nah,
pterodactyls are
fuck
crazy.
The pterodactyl has no business putting a P in the beginning of its name, bro. Get that shit out of here.
Dude, pterodactyls would be so freaky. Like modern day, just imagine a bird that has like a 10 feet wingspan that could just like lift you
Just
up off the
flying in the
ground.
air, bro.
Dude, I would not be
Yeah.
cool with that, dude.
Maybe you would be cool with it though. You could be like a pterodactyl tamer, and like that would be like a dragon. Think about it,
Just start riding. It just take the halo, Jake. Like
bro. Imagine like being at a
Avatar.
festival and like it's Lost Lands. It's already dinosaur theme. Imagine like instead of having like fighter jets like they do at stadiums, they could have like pterodactyls fly over. That would be so goated.
Oh, that would go hard. That would go hard. All right, well, yeah, but thanks again, Hollow. We're on to the next gang member. We got Kevolution, dude. It's actually kind of a spicy name. Cause
Yeah.
I hope his name is Kev or like Kevin or something, because that would be like the
It's
brain
gotta be.
cells. The brain cells there would be nutty, dude. The prefrontal
He's
cortex.
evolved. That's why he's so
He's
smart.
evolved, dude. All right, pizza time.
Pizza time. So does he use pizza time as the wave
Oh my
table?
god. Wait, what were you saying?
Does he use pizza time as the wave table is what I'm wondering.
Maybe.
That'd be funny.
I mean, I know I paused it, but that sounded crazy.
Yeah. Did you
Wow.
fade it out at like 2
I
seconds
faded
away
out.
from the end?
Yeah, I do that. I'm sorry. I thought it worked out great.
Oh, yeah, it was wonderful. I loved it.
All right.
Good job.
Flex. You flex first, Percy, because
Okay, yeah. Um, the mix of the song. Oh, I don't know. This genre is really hard to mix, and I'm not sure how the drums were sitting. Like they kind of stuck out to me, but they also always stick out to me and like tear out rhythm in general. Let me skim through real quick.
I mean,
I think snare could come up a little bit. This genre relies on like a pretty smacked snare sometimes. So I think like this one might be a little bit too mini. It's like we have a snare in like small font, but we want a snare in like 420 font Freehole on Google Docs. Like so it takes up the whole screen. That's what we want our snare to be, I think. Um Otherwise I think the drums sat pretty well. Maybe the hats could come up as well. Like the crash and hat are also a pretty idiomatic to this genre as being like pretty loud to carry flows. Um, Basses, there's a lot of harshness, but this genre is also very harsh, so I don't know if you want to fix that at all. But like some of the, especially the fills where it kind of like rolls in from the top, like pitch bends down, and it's like the very metallic fill, like at like 110 or so, is very piercing to my ears.
wait, let me listen to this 110. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So just like Soothe or Q4 like spectral peak just like push down could go hard here. I don't know. It's hard to mix this genre because it's like the ideal mix for this genre is not the ideal mix for any other genre.
Yeah, I feel like the other than the drums, like you were saying, the mix was actually not bad. Like I think that
Yeah.
the vibes were there. Mix wise, I think the vibes were actually like yeah, the drums needed to be way more punchy. And I think it's not just the loudness. I think that the side chaining that you're using is not quite doing what I want it to do personally. Like I want it to be like really slapping. I don't know if you're using volume automation side chaining or compression side chaining, but I feel like that would really help the drums be like
Yeah, always use volume automation, like a full 100% pretty hefty sidechain for this kind of stuff because you want it to be like completely just the kick and snare when those hit. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. But other than that, like I think the mix down was actually quite nice. And I think some of the reason why the drums feel quiet is just because they're not side chaining as much as they could. But I don't know. Those are just my thoughts on that. But yeah, keep flexing, Percy. Yeah, that's I think the mix was great. Other than that.
Good dynamics. Uh it's not the most dynamic of tunes. Like there's a bunch of fills, but the fills are also pretty loud, but I don't dynamics are also not really what you go for in this genre. So I don't know if the lack of dynamicism is like a bad thing at all. Like when I think of tear out, dynamics is probably like if I were to rank like one of those big bubble things where like all the words that come to mind are like the bigger, more common words are like the big bubbles, dynamics would be like the tiniest bubble there. And like just loudness or flatness would be like the biggest bubble. So I don't know if like lack of dynamics is a bad thing here. I don't know. Do you agree with that, Mag? Do it.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people that are making the tear out style to just reference like some Joe B tracks. And I mean, if we pulled up, I'm just going to quickly pull up Joe B's SoundCloud.
Why is this so big?
Oh, I just have it zoomed in.
Oh,
There you go.
we love Halcyon over here.
Yeah, you can see like your track. Your track and his track are kind of looking very similar as far as how much dynamics. I think there's a little bit more intentional like breakdown and intro dynamics in his tracks, so you might want to think about that. But I mean, yeah, like you can see like they're both kind of bricked. You could even brick yours a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Actually,
Like one thing I noticed, the fills in this genre, they're fills and they're different texturally, but they're not as quiet as the fills in your song are. Like a fill in a tear out track might be a respace when you've had a chugger going, but that respace is going to be just as loud as all the other elements. Like very rarely in tear out do you have a fill that will reduce the volume compared to what's going on around it. Unless it's a big fill where you're like fully pulling back all the volume to pull back in, but those only happen like maybe once or twice in a drop, unless it's like one of the tear out tunes that goes like a hit and then a big silence and then another hit. Like unless that's the aesthetic you're going for, the fills should be like as chonked as the drop itself.
Yeah, and I do think that when it comes to tear out, like the best tear out is like basically overly distorted, but in a pleasing way, like which is super convoluted and difficult to understand. But the idea is like you want it to be so pushed that you're like hitting the clipper hard. Like in fact, like I would go so far as to say that you are like distorting at the clipper level, but it's such a little amount of distortion that it doesn't really change the timbres of anything, but it feels like distorted. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that gets the point across,
It
but
feels like unintentional, whereas it's very intentional for the like you can tell they're trying to fuck stuff at the master level for tear out. Whereas here it feels kind of like it's trying to be cleanly clipped when you can just lean into the fucked aspect and it would be like way better in my opinion.
yeah, that's how I'm feeling about this. Yeah, I would say reference Joe B, because like if you put his track up to this track and just like did some mixing, I think you would get a lot of really fun results.
Also, just for reference, like Muerte, who makes Fire Tear Out, his master rack is an OTT into a clipper. Like he actually puts OTT on master. And his OTT is not like 10% depth. It's like 32% depth. Upwards compression is at like 62%. Downwards is at 80%. Output gain is turned up. And then he smashes that into a clipper. And he's like I think times at like 300% or something. So it's not like this is a genre where you can do all the things that people tell you not to do on your master chain and it will sound fire.
Facts. And
Yeah.
I mean like yeah, I don't know. It's definitely I think Tear Out is really good, but I think this is like a great, it's like not bad. Like I think that the variation on the basses was a little much, but as far as like the overall mix down, I think it was pretty on point. Like you were saying, there were a couple of those harsher basses, and then obviously the drums were quite quiet. But yeah, I would say just lean into the heaviness. But yeah, continue.
Reference Finna for this kind of stuff as well. I love Finna so much. Let me send Magduit a decent track by him to reference here, because I think he's really on this vibe for what you want to be hitting as well. You can answer the next question while I look for this. It's gonna take me a second.
Word.
On the drops.
Does any of the drops need a thinner or thicker sound? I guess there are any points of the song Hollow that's kind of like the same question. I would say not really. Okay, so I mean, other than what we just talked about, not really. I think the big thing is like you could push this track a little bit harder in the clippy kind of region. And then I do think that having some intentional, more dynamic parts could be good. You know, like having a build up or an intro that's like a little bit less just clipped and loud would really benefit this, because I don't really think you have one here. And yeah, those are just my thoughts on that. I do think that like you kind of just drop right into it. So I would say like work on something that would go off to the side here as like an introductory section to this whole vibe. And then maybe a breakdown in between these two sections here, because it is basically just 3 minutes of like really heavy hitting stuff, which I am honestly not a hater of that, but I do think that a lot of people enjoy like these little breaks in between just to help.
It's good for DJing too. Like
Yeah.
those breaks are fire for DJs. Will you play like a second of that Finna track? And also like just look at the waveform of this one. Like it's a very heavy tune. but you can tell like there's intentional.
Yeah, it's like
Like
clipped.
that
It's
that
so clipped.
waveform is a full square. It hits -1 lufs. It's like that's this genre. I don't know.
Yeah,
And there's less bass variation than you'd think as well. Like it doesn't necessarily go back and forth as much as you would think. That is the tear out scene, Dino.
Yeah, I think Joby is similar. I'm actually curious now what this hits. Yeah, I feel like Joe B's is like the less silly, but still obviously he's still clipping it, but it's like this is that is silly, dude. That's like silly, but yeah, I don't know.
Goofball type beat.
Yeah, goofball level mixing on that one. At least this one follows the blessed shape. Yeah, true. But I feel like you have that even in your track, Kevolution. You have the shapes and everything. I think you could hit that clipper a little bit harder and make it a little bit louder. Really square off this shape, you know? Become a square wave form. All right. Thank you, Kevolution. That was spicy. I think we answered all your questions. Oh, wait, no, there's one last one. I think that there are too many variations. That is my opinion on that question. Does the song need more variations or does it flow well? I think it actually flows like into different areas too quickly. I think, or at the very least too like drastically. I think that you could really benefit from relying more on similar timbres. I always put this out there just because I think it helps people understand this perspective more, but I have a video on my YouTube channel called the fractal technique, and it basically talks about how you can get variation in timbre without going like too far off the beaten path. And I think that entire perspective of music helps, at least when it comes to variation and sound design in the context of an arrangement. So yeah.
I always compare like tear out and rhythm are like the techno of dubstep in my opinion. Like they have not the most changing flows, not the most variation in a like drop timbre or flows. It's kind of like cooks on one thing with fills, and it's a bit more dynamic than techno, of course. But I really do think that it's like the techno of dubstep. That's what I compare it to, and I think what's his Code Pandorum called it that too, so it has to be right because Code Pandorum is a G in the scene.
True.
But yeah, I think it's better to go with the doesn't change enough vibe for this genre than it is to go for the change too much. Just because of you got to think about the fans too. Like, never mind, I'm not gonna finish that thought. But yeah, write it for the tear out fans.
Facts. And yeah, reference, dude. I think if you start referencing more, I think you'll get there. Because this is close, which is impressive. That's really cool. Because yeah, the hardest part sometimes is getting to this point where everything is mixed and the shape of what you want is where you want it. It's just not loud enough yet. That's like hard to get the shape of where you want things. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you're a potter, you know, you're making like clay figurines and stuff, and like you've got the figurine like sculpted, dude. Now you just have to like fire it. Like you're basically like there. So yeah.
Have you ever done pottery, Mag? Do it. That shit's so fun and
I
relaxing.
have, dude. I love it, dude. I used to do it a lot. Actually, I had at my high school there used to be a pottery class, dude. And I took that 3 out
That's
of the
dope.
4 years I was there. There was like all this other art stuff I could do, but I was like, nah. I'm fucking
Like
sticking
something
with
about
pottery.
being like it's doing it with your hands is so nice. But dude, when shit blows up in the kiln, it would make me so depressed. I don't know if that ever happened to you. Like you
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
poke enough holes in it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
shit would make me so mad.
Yeah, luckily that only happened to me twice, but yeah, both times it was it sucked. Yeah, you put all this work into like fucking making it look cool, and then it's
Yeah.
just a giant pile of
I do not miss how
broken
messy it
pieces.
was though, man. That fucking it got messy as fuck.
Yeah, man, but no, it was fun. I always love pottery. Pottery is cool. But yeah, all right. Last but not least. Oh wait, no, just kidding. We do have Dino's track after this. Second
Oh
to
yeah,
last
and
but not least.
I have new questions for this guy. He DM'd it to me.
Okay, yeah, send them in the chat and I will read them as we listen. But,
Oh wait, is it? I don't know if it's a new. Will you open this link instead? He sent me a different link for it, and I don't know if it's the
oh,
same one or.
hang on. Maybe not. All I know is this is the
This is
one
what
that
we're
he sent you.
listening to.
All right,
Yep.
let's get into it. Circus Freaks.
You ready for that? Checking into a Vegas hotel under a phony name with intent to commit capital fraud and a head full of acid? I sure hope so. 30 minutes.
It was going to be very close. What's the score here? What's next?
Ray, hang on to it. Fucking A, the gentleman has a major credit card.
That's right, man. Don't take any guff from these fucking swine.
You just got through saying that. Do you realize who the fuck you're talking to?
Hey,
Do you? Be over in 30 minutes.
get in.
Damn,
This dude.
that was some call and response. I think it was nutty.
That is without a doubt the best crafty track I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's a huge improvement, not just in like sound design, but also like arrangement wise. This kind of fucks. And like the bass phrases are kind of fire. But do you want to go first? I have a decent bit to say.
Word. Yeah. I will answer. Let's see. So, I feel like the sound design is actually quite good. I think the big thing that I was not like, I guess like the design of it isn't the problem. It's just the arrangement of it. Like, I think that the sub could be a little bit more dynamic, like, because I think you have that sine wave basically just chugging along the whole time. I would say at the very least make the kick interrupt it more with sidechain or something like that. And then maybe at the very best, you could go like one step further and have it hit a couple of different notes, maybe even just one note, just to kind of signal, maybe when like another section is coming or something like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't think anything felt like it was that loud, actually. I would say it's still a little quiet, but that is my opinion. I still think it could be a little bit louder as far as deep dub goes, but I do know that deep dub usually sits at around like minus, like most of them that I've seen sit at around like -9, -10, which is quite quiet.
Luffs are kind of sketchy for deep dub just because luffs are so weighted towards high end. And like deep dub by nature just doesn't have as much high end as like your neuro tune that has like a notch filtered square bass going for like 2 minutes. So it's
Right.
like, yeah. I think like just compared, especially this one of those genres where I feel like you can go into like an EQ or like get span and compare the two tracks and like just compare the different like the gain of the harmonics and see like are your harmonics hitting it around the same level even if they're not the same ones, or like are your basses or the subs hitting it around the same level, what's the overall like shape of the waveform, because luffs are kind of it's hard to get high luffs on a tune that uses high end as a very sparse design choice and is mostly like reverb focused on high end, like reverb percussion. It's hard to chase luffs with that, like Outlet said.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, I mean, most of the time when I'm usually looking at Luffs, I'm just comparing it to what else is being played in that genre. And that's why,
Yeah.
like, yeah, on like a deep dub track, you will not find tracks that are like above -8. Like, -8 is probably the loudest deep dub track that I've heard. I would say like -9 is like what I see most of them sitting at, and some of them go all the way down to like -12 or -13. But I do think that -9 are the ones that I've enjoyed the most. Like, and it's not
Yeah.
because of the lack of low end in your tracks. I think the low end is actually quite present. But I do believe that having a more forward ambiance, or like, like the atmospheric elements in your track could have been louder. Like, I think the reverb could have been a little bit louder. And I also think that maybe like the mid basses could have been a little bit louder too in comparison to the sub. Especially some of these like squiggly ones. Like there's this one that plays that's like has like a flanger or something. Let me see if I can find it. Like that one. That one. That one. Yeah, that one could be a lot louder, I think. But just in general, like, yeah, I think those elements could be louder, but like these are all I guess my thoughts in general. I think the drums are the big thing that felt like they weren't slapping as much as they could. Like when that kick hits, I want it to be like, like boom. Even if there's a sub happening, that sub needs to get out of the way for that kick. Just so that way you can build
the sub out of the way.
Yeah.
Kicks it in the ass.
Yeah, you want that to happen so that way you can build that rhythm and maintain that rhythm for the listener, because I think that the kick and snare are like really helpful for creating that rhythm. And the snare luckily kind of always cuts through, even if it's not well sidechained, because you've got like the mid and high frequency element to it. But the kick, especially in a deep dub track, like all you have is that kind of like low sine wave thump, and like that needs to be present. So yeah, I would say side chaining would help a lot with that. But yeah, I know I kind of trailed off into some other entire universe here. I would say they're not that loud yet. I would say it could be louder, but that's my thought. When it comes to the ones that are harsher, I actually liked it. I don't know, like I wasn't thinking it was like too harsh, but maybe when you go to turn it up, it might be too harsh. And if that's the case, yeah, just do the classic thing that I showed earlier, and that is just grab a like an equalizer. I'm grabbing Pro Q just because then you guys can all see it, but you can use any equalizer to do this. And you just grab this little band filter here, this shape, and you sweep and look for look for resonant peaks that don't sound good. So when you go to boost it and then you sweep and you find one that sounds bad, you're like, oh, okay, that's the bad peak that I don't want. And then you just go and you just turn the gain down, and then you'll have removed it. And I would do that individually for each instrument, because yeah, it's helpful. How are you supposed to post in the community feedback if the private links are expired?
Community feedback. The private link shouldn't expire, but in like the private link for the song previous. I see. Just maybe go through and see like what the most recent song with an unexpired link is. I guess maybe we should delete a post. I'll go through and delete posts with expired private links. That's
Yeah.
a good, because that would be kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
I can do it, Dino. Don't worry about
Sorry,
it.
I saw that and I just got slightly distracted. Anyway, am I missing? Oh, here. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to say about that first thing? Because I went all over the place.
Sound design. No, I think boosting stuff will help expose more things to be fixed. It's hard when stuff isn't at the proper volume, it's hard to figure out what you need to do to like get it to fit in. Cause like it is quiet, like Magdo had said. And I think once it's turned up, there'll be more pronounced maybe issues with peaks and stuff. But because it's quiet right now, stuff that would be peaking sounds good to me because it's like at the proper loudness, if that makes sense. So like I know Magda showed you some clip to zero stuff. So kind of could clip it to zero, push it up, maybe turn down sub a little bit or not turn it down, but if you push stuff up, the sub might be a bit overbearing because I think it's at an almost decent level right now compared to the rest. So you might want to turn it down a bit once everything else gets louder to kind of maintain the like ratio of sub volume to mid bass and everything. I think there's a couple like the call bass could maybe have a little bit more high end because I feel like in a lot of deep dub, the call bass does have high end or it's like a neuro hit or like a Reese hit or like a wub with more mids and highs. And then they put a lot of reverb on that. So it rings out over like all of it's like a sustained high end element with the reverb that rings out over all the really mid-ear or lower focused basses. And like I think that would really accent the call and response too, and like accent the contrast, which is really fire here. I like that arranging. But I don't know. I have some comments, but it's on question two, so you go answer that real quick, Mag, do it.
Oh, question 2, because yeah, I already got question 1. I mean, you can keep flexing. What do you think about stuff that he should add?
So I think that for one, I think hats could definitely be interested up here and add like maybe a few more hat rolls. I know they're not the most prevalent in deep dubstep, but I think they could go nice here, especially if like you make a delay send and then put just the hat rolls into the delay. So like you have your standard hats hitting on like the quarter note or eighth note or whatever, and then those rolls happen and it kind of gets delayed over the rest of the song on like dotted eighths would be cool, especially with more high end in the hats that I feel like is missing here. And I also think that like a lot of FX would go hard here. Like a lot of high end blips or something. I hear like the call bass and then like a high end little blip that gets reverbed or delayed over the rest of it would really accent like the call and response again, but also add high end that's missing a little bit. And I think that that's one of the biggest and best parts about deep dubstep for me is that there's so much room to do all these little nuanced things in the high end because you don't have a bass occupying that. So you can really flex with like a lot of cool effect samples, a lot of cool vocals in the drop that kind of get like really band passed into high end or like not high end, but like mid highs But all of that stuff, yeah, like Dino, like Duncan said, there's so much room to create a really solid groove and deep dub because of how low end focused the basses are. And I think that a good deep dub track really takes advantage of all that space to make like some really interesting high end percussion, Foley, FX, all of that. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say there.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like stuff that's missing that could be cool, one thing that I really love in deep dub on a lot of the percussion, the main percussion elements, like maybe the snare or maybe some other percussion stuff, but definitely on the snare, is spring reverbs. Spring reverbs in deep dub sound so good. And yeah, I would highly recommend getting one. If you don't know, there is a free one that's made by Hornet. I forget what it's called, but it's like it's a free spring reverb that they made. Let me see here.
Convolution Reverb also has spring stuff, which sounds pretty good, like the Ableton Convolution Reverb.
Yeah, I know theirs emulates like a real hardware one. Let's see, that's the paid
Oh.
one, but what's the free one? There's
And that's also $12.99, which is not very
Oh,
much for a
Mola.
paid
No,
version.
this one. So Hornet
Okay.
Mola is a free physically modeled spring reverb, and it sounds really good. And yeah, I would highly recommend putting that on your snares or on percussive elements in your track because, like, yeah, like Percy, I think alluded to it a lot, but like, when with the bass elements, but in general, like, you kind of want this smeariness of your main like upper frequency related things. So like with your call bass, yeah, like put that into a reverb. With your snare hits, like put those into reverb. And I think spring reverbs sound really good because yeah, they're a part of the genre already, and I feel like they are because it creates this almost delay verb feeling. And I think that it's almost like a I don't know how to describe it. It it reminds me of like the cavern, uh, breakthrough vibe a little bit. Like it literally puts you in a cavern, like in a space that you are familiar with, but you don't know if you've ever really been there. That's why I love spring reverbs and deep dub. They're really cool.
Yeah. And
And
it's like it's super deep dub is probably the closest to like a old style dub, like the dub roots with like the offbeat little the thing you were talking about earlier. And that used a lot of spring verbs. So like even like make some old fashioned dub delay stuff. Like it's deep dub, put some dub delay in there. It goes really hard.
facts.
Uh
But yeah, that was like
yeah.
the main thing that I think he could have added to like just enhance the space other than what you had already discussed with all these pockets. There's a lot of pockets to put things. Yeah, you got
And
to
like
fill them up.
neuro bases. I need to send you those racks that I was talking to you about. But like Owlet said, you can put some bases into high pass and reverb and like a really I love hearing deep dub that will have like a really background high end neuro style like respace that like maybe even starts out in the lows as a fill, but then just really quickly sweeps up with a high pass filter and that high end gets like reverbed and smeared over the rest of the like the next 10 seconds even. Like I think cuz there's so many harmonics in there, you can really add some nice upper end, high end, I don't know why I called it upper, but some nice high end into the track. And it's nice contrast too.
Yeah. But yeah, as for the third question, does the sounds work? Sorry, I was really focused on. You should never be sorry, bro. You're flexing, dude. This is the most banging track you've made for sure. You're really focused on the sound design portion and arrangement of this. Yeah, I can tell. And was just happy with that somewhat because how quickly it came together. The last drop I'm iffy about, and it was super rushed. I want to try and carry that passion. I think it botched it. Well, I mean, like, here's my opinion. I think we kind of went over a little bit of this, but yeah, I think you can definitely add more to this, but I think as it is now, it's not bad. I think that even the variation is enough. It's just the way that you call response with the effects could be improved, and then where you're positioning all these percussive elements to help carry the groove more. I think those are like the big two things that that can really help this track become a full song, because you already have like, I didn't really notice that as like a negative. Like, I don't think that the last drop was like out of character or out of place or not where it needed to be. Yeah, I just think that there's definitely room to add a little bit more. But yeah, dude. Apart from like the few things that we were mentioning, and then maybe the loudness, like with the clipping to 0 on this, I think would be the key, because you essentially have everything you need here. Maybe, of course, like what we were discussing, you can add some more stuff, but the idea is like you can be as minimal as you want and still have like a really well mixed song, I think. So yeah, I think that making this track a little bit louder would be nice to hear. But yeah, dude, that was impressive. I am shocked with how much 333 has evolved. That was like leaps and bounds above what we had heard previously, dude. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more from you, bro.
Yeah, that was nuts. Did you have anything you wanted to say as well? I'm sorry, I just think, yeah,
I think like we kind of covered most of that with the rest of the questions. Like I think yeah, it's definitely your best tune so far. I like the I can definitely see now that your like sound design and arrangement and stuff is getting better. I can hear like the call and response like this. It's pretty fire. I like all the ideas that you're able to articulate here, and it feels really cohesive too, which is pretty massive. So yeah, thanks for sending. I can't imagine. Earlier you were saying that you wish you hadn't submitted it, and here it is. I'm glad you actually did submit it.
yeah, same, dude. Yeah, and I think that this feeling right here is like that's the feeling that we all want to strive for. Being happy that it came together so quickly, dude. That's music. That's music making.
It's so weird. Can we talk about how odd it is that all of the you can spend like 5 hours in the DAW and you will make nothing but like shitty 4-bar loops. I do this all the time. And then like right as you're about to go to bed or like right before you got something to do, you'll make like 30 minutes and make like the best tune that you've made in the past week. It's so weird how it works like that. I feel like when the creativity strikes, you can get so much done so fast. And I think it's like that's why it's so important to keep up with the routine on making music, because this is kind of just a spiel, because I think a lot of people talk about it, but there's a lot of talk about like waiting for motivation to strike in music, and I think that that's kind of a misnomer, because I don't think that inspiration really strikes so much as it does find you when you put in the work and sit in a location where you're making music and putting in the hours to kind of generate ideas. Like, I think motivation is a reward for doing stuff enough that when you feel inspired, you're able to immediately articulate it. And I don't know. I just think that line about like making so much and having it come so fast is really it's a really big thing to realize, is that like even if you spend 5 hours and you don't make anything you like, that 30 minutes out of the 5 hours where you get a really good idea down is worth all of that time, in my opinion. So it's important to like just stay in the dock, keep grinding. That's my it's my little philosophical spiel about creativity.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's like a muscle that you're exercising regularly, and then when you have a use for the muscle, like that's not just exercise, you can actually do it. It's like, being like world's strongest man or whatever. Like, yeah, you've exercised all this time and now you can like I don't know, you could like
Some hot
move a
girl asked
train.
you to like lift a rock. It's
Yeah.
like she dropped something and you need to lift like a 500-pound boulder. You're like, oh, I've been training for this my whole life, bro. I can
Exactly.
do this.
Exactly. Or you can like move a train that's like, yeah, it's just not moving. Yeah. Anyway, you get
Yeah,
the point.
move a train, bro.
Yeah.
You seen the videos where like the Guinness Book of World Records, people like pull stuff with their eyelids and shit. It's so crazy, man. I don't know how they do that.
Yeah, but that's basically the vibe. It's like you have this muscle that you are maintaining, and then when you need to use the muscle for like real shit, you can do it, you know? And I think that's why, yeah, like Percy was saying, yeah, being in the DAW is like, it's the key. The more you're in the DAW, like the more you'll be in tune with it. And then whenever you do find that spark, which just comes and goes, like whenever it feels like, it's crazy. There's like no way to like, it's crazy how you can't like fabricate it or like control it. It's like, it's either like there or it's not, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And
It was like earlier, I told y'all, like my sleep schedule got fucked today because I made a cool tune last night. Like I felt inspired. I didn't want to go to sleep. Who knows how long it'll be? But it's like, I don't know. Got to be on the lookout. If I wasn't in Ableton, like in bed, sleepy, just took my melatonin, just fucking playing around with some 8-bit patches, then I wouldn't have had that idea come to me. I had fucking Beast Games on in the background. New episode drops every Thursday. I was like, damn it, I can't watch my Beast Games episode. It's like the Island episode. It's so important. You got to be in the grind.
yeah, no, I agree. I think that's just something that, yeah, I think the more that I have grown as an artist, the more I have appreciated it because I feel like it's more fleeting. I don't know if that's the same feeling that everyone else has, but it's like, dude, I feel like when I first started making music, because you have no idea what anything is, everything is so interesting. And then it gets to a point where you like, you know what everything does. So you have to like get interested by, like, it's almost like you have to keep finding those new things that keep you excited about the music, which is where like, yeah, I think that's where it's all about, is like exploration.
That's that frequent video. What is it? Episode 1, Creative Foundations, SCS or whatever. That's what he goes over, right? Just move knobs you haven't before. Challenge yourself to do things that you haven't, because that's where the ideas that you haven't had come to you before will come to you. It's like it's kind of like we live in an era of digital tools where it's easy to put yourself in a routine of doing stuff. But at a certain point, that routine kind of obfuscates away creative decisions. And when you can't make creative decisions, then you're not going to feel inspired. So at a certain point, it's like maybe instead of dragging the bass rack that you use every time with all the settings pre-configured where you don't have many things to change, like start out with a cool, like just do something that you haven't before. Use a noise, like try and make something out of noise, and maybe you'll feel inspired. If you don't use a flanger much, maybe put a flanger and like try and do something with like 99% feedback, because that's where all the things that you haven't done, like ideas lie in doing the things where you haven't done them before, I guess.
Yeah, well, like even earlier when we were putting the phasers on pianos, like I've never done that, and yet like it sounds good. Like it's like
Yeah.
a vibe.
Putting the phaser after the reverb.
Oh,
You
yeah,
wanna
after
get
the reverb.
high end sparkle, bro.
Yeah, I can play C notes that still sound good. But yeah, that's just, yeah, facts. New things always get me excited, and I think that actually holds true even outside of arrangement. That's why I think like sound designing and playing instruments and all that kind of stuff is such an important part of the process as well, because like you can only arrange so many times in a row before you get tired of that. So it's like you may as well explore these other facets of music production, because it's like literally a endless journey. But yeah.
Anyways, do you think we've edged Dino enough?
Yeah, Dino's probably like, all right, guys, shut up. Like, play my track.
He's at his aunt's house now.
All right, here we go. We got Dino. He's gonna be our closer for tonight. New wave, new father, post car, listen with snare tone and bends. I don't know what that means, but
Post car listen. So he's listened in a car before. It's new wave and a new father, so he's been adopted. And snare tone and bends. I don't know what that one means. Is he pitch bending the snare, perhaps?
I don't know. And there's no genre, dude. This is crazy.
No, it's new wave. That's the genre.
Oh, new wave. New wave.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let us embark upon this journey, lads.
That was pretty.
I love how every time Dino plays a track, that Tears Dub song comes on.
Yeah.
That's a
Maybe
vibe.
no, he's been paid by Bunting to just drive up streams on that song
True.
because it's the only one that he has liked. We've seen through your plot, Dino.
I guess I'll go first if that's chill. Let's see here. So I don't know what the snare tone he's talking about is. I'll be dead ass. Like I don't understand that. But what I will say is, as far as snares go, this whole section here with the kicks and no snares, I know that this is like after a section and it's probably carrying over, but like even though that it's carrying over, it just feels so weird having all those kicks like boo, 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 you know, just like happening without that offbeat, you know, like closure, you know, that like rhythmic, you know, marriage. It's like a married couple and like, you know, the husband's out here, you know, sticking his dick out, but there's no wife, you know, like where's the wife? You know what I'm saying? Like this is weird, dude. Like, you know, but as for the snare itself, when it does come in and exists, I think that it sounds great with everything that's there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like without it, though, it just feels like I can't catch the groove. You know, like I'm trying to catch the groove. And if you're not trying to have someone catch the groove, I would say just get rid of all those kicks, you know, or at least make them a lot less like prevalent. But as for the snare tone enough, I don't know. I think it sounds fine. I think the snare sounds great. I think that when it's happening, it sounds awesome. I just feel like I missed it during this first, like, what is this? 40 seconds or so. Yeah, I was really missing that snare. Well, I know it's
that's
the breakdown.
Magduit. Come
I
on.
know, but like then you gotta have less kicks or something, dude. It just feels so weird. It sounds bad to me. Like it sounds like there's no. Well, yeah, okay, that's fine, but there's no rhythm to grab onto. Like even if like it doesn't even need. Okay, if you really want the kicks there, like you have to have something there to help with the rhythm.
Put an
Otherwise,
open hat or Foley on the three. That's
yeah,
what I do.
yeah, it doesn't have
Don't
to
put
be
a
a
snare
snare.
there, but do like an open hat or Foley.
It has to be
Trust.
something. Something needs to be there to like complete the circle. You know, like you need the yin and the yang. You can't just have like one or the other, or else it feels like all not vibey. But I don't know. That's just my opinion, right? Because I'm looking for the rhythm and I can't find it. So I'm like, I don't know. Like I'd rather there just not be rhythmic elements and just get to experience the lush, like melodic
I
ambient.
think no kick. I don't think it was that bad, but I do think no kicks might be really nice here, honestly. I don't know. Okay, I wasn't here last week, so I'm not to blame for this. That's your fault, Magduit. You brought this on yourself, apparently, so
Well, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
that this is one of those things where it's all about context, right? Like you have to have the circle, right? Maybe it's because the whole time I didn't want any percussion there, but yeah, I feel like it just feels weird. Like the kicks are like like there's these random like bouts of low end energy, and I'm like, oh god, no, like I'm trying to dodge it or something, you know? I'm like, no, please, like it's like scary, you know? It's like out of nowhere because there's like not enough rhythmic elements in between them to help me like grab onto the groove, so it feels like they're just like randomly happening, like you're trying to like jump scare me, like there's a kick, there's another kick. It's like jump scaring me, but and I feel like that's hurting the like subtle like calm vibe, you know, like the just that like we're out here chilling type energy, and then all of a sudden it's like whoa, all right, we're trying to get back into that whoa, you know, like it's just like yeah, that's my thought. I'm just being dead ass because like I think it's a really cool song, so I'm just being as honest as I possibly can, you know. I'm hitting you with the what's inside my head, you know.
I'll take it into consideration.
Yeah.
Burr's gonna present it to the jury and have them do a trial on your feedback.
I mean, that's fine. I don't know. I just think that like why not take advantage of that moment? Why not make the moment feel even more, subtle and like serene
But
instead of jump scaring me all the time. But yeah, what did you think, Percy? Is the snare tone enough?
snare tone. Uh, I need to listen through to the snare again. I was vibing on the track. I was playing piano. Yeah, thank you.
I think the snare
Layer a
sounds great.
different snare every other. Or like layer a Foley hit and make it a different one, and then like have a brush sweep. Like I'll send you some samples. Just like a very subtle sweep into that snare would go hard, I think. And then a little bit of Foley, but it's not like a snare tone thing. I just think with the organicism that would fit.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
true. Having more layers to it, you're not wrong. It's kind of like, I don't know if the reverb, also now that I've listened to it again, I don't know if the reverb's like, it might be a little too
There's
heavy-handed.
6 layers. What the fuck?
There's already 6 layers. Why is it so like, I think the reverb is a little bit much on it. I think the reverb is like a little bit just on the transients though. So like it's fine on the tail. Like the tail reverb is fine, but I feel like the transient of the snare is like lost in the reverb as well. Not less reverb entirely though. Like cuz I think the tail sounds great. So like what I would do if I was you is like I have ST4B though and you don't. So like this is rough. But like what I would do is I would take the ST4B splitter that Frequent made and I would just put the reverb on the tails and leave the transients alone. But I don't know if you have ST4B. So in this case, what you could do instead is the Mr. Bill trick, and that is render out the audio. Or I guess you don't really have to render out the audio. Just cut the transient. Oh, you have ST4B? You have the stab?
We just call it stab.
But my CPU doesn't like it. I mean, then get a
Reason
new
flat
CPU,
after you
dude.
put stab on there.
Yeah, it sounds so good. Basically, transient separate it and put the reverb on the tails and leave the transients alone. Because I feel like it's back in the mix because of that. But I think that like the tails sound great. So like I think if you could just get the transients to be more forward in the mix, then you'll be fine. Yeah.
I know. I can also send you a Percy X Note X sample pack snare that I think would fit here with a little bit of a tight transient and a little bit more high end as well. Because I think that a little bit of transient-y high end would also go nicely here. Or maybe like even on every other snare. But that's what my ear is hitting. And I hear a specific snare over it too.
Wait, it also isn't sidechaining the track? What do you mean the snare isn't sidechaining the track? That
You
could
don't
be
need
why.
snare side chain
But I
in
don't.
this.
But yeah, I don't think so either. I think you just need to make it like more forward in the mix, like just a little
Yeah.
bit. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't think it needs it either. Like it doesn't seem like it. I think the kick is all you really need to feel like thumping. But now let's see here. Bends added to the second half of second drop. Only drop in this version. Second drop double in length. I listened back in my car and was wanting more to it. Is the bends enough or are they even good? I mean,
Yeah.
I think they're
I don't know if
fine.
I don't know if they're the right bends though.
I guess like my opinion of it is they're how do I describe this? It like it's like it wants to be an 808 but it isn't. I feel like you could make it happen faster. Like I feel like it doesn't need to be as like drawn out of a pitch bend. But I don't know.
I hear it bending up in my head instead of down. Like bending it up into the note.
Like it's not
Which,
bad. I don't think it's like a bad bend. It just doesn't like I don't know. I see what you mean.
Because
Yeah,
that's
maybe
like,
bending up would be the vibe.
I don't know why, but that's just what my ear hears right here. I would just experiment with that. I don't know if it would sound better.
Sorry, I just wanted to listen to that one more time. I don't know.
I'd play with it.
Also, during the bends, are you still LFOing the bass? Because I would not LFO the volume during the bend itself and then like fade in the LFOing, but I think you already are, but I'm just making sure. No, you're not. Okay, I would say that the LFOing should be dynamic during those sections. So like when you're doing the bend, it could benefit, in my opinion, from being a little bit more sturdy and then like slowly becoming LFO'd again, kind of like modulated back in. Yeah, because I feel like, I don't know, it's one of those things where, I don't know, it just, it feels like unstable. Oh, well, in this one that I'm playing right now, there's definitely LFOing happening during the bend. What I'm saying is I think it would be more stable and like pleasant if there was not LFOing during the bend. But I don't know if I was being confusing. Ramping LFO inverse to the bend. Well, it's definitely like LFO all the time. But that's not necessarily bad. It just, I think it makes it feel a little bit less sturdy than it could be, which I don't know. I kind of want it to like, cause it's such an intense like thing, right? You got this like pitch bend happening, which is like a pretty intense feeling. So I think it should be sturdy. And then like you fade back into like the kind of subtle LFO thing once it's back to zero. But yeah, what about you, Percy? Did you have any? You already kind of gave your thoughts on the bends, right? Like have it going up.
Try an 808. I like your idea.
Yeah,
I
dude.
I feel like an 808 could go hard here, low key.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like it wants to be an 808 and it's not. And in my mind, like 808s just sounds so good. Especially like in the context of this song, you already have like a really clean sine wave thing happening. Like you may as well just go with like an 808. You had an 808 in the previous iteration. Then I would just use the exact patch that you have right now, but make it more 808 feeling. So like in your, let me grab paint here. Like your pitch bend is kind of like this. Like, so if this is like the XY thing, you know, this is time and this is like, you know, plus 12. And then this is like 0 down here. Like yours currently is kind of doing this. And I would say you should have it. Let me just make it a different color. Like this. If that makes sense. Like the pitch bend. Let me see. Yeah, I think if if you turn your pitch bendy boy into the red line, I think it's closer to the red line. Then you got to make it even more like it will make another color. Make it blue this time. Then it needs to be like this. Or even like this. Because like you can use the same exact patch. There's nothing wrong with the patch itself. Also, good night, Duncan. I know it's late AF for you. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, peace out.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, because I think
I might also mean making the bend range higher too, depending on how that sounds.
Yeah. But I think that like during this part of the song, if you're going to add that level of like intensity with a pitch bend, I think it's worth going that extra step and just like kind of going like the doom, 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 you know, like just really kind of hitting them with like the, you know. Yeah, just make it just change the envelope of the pitch bend. Literally, that's all you'd have to do. And of course, once again, remove the LFOing, you know, the tremolo effect just during that kind of initial, kind of that initial pitch bend. Last question. General mixed feedback. The mids get washed out in the car, and I think that my target audience right now, so I boosted them. That's why. So I am glad you mentioned this. So like, I think that the mids are too loud. I mean, I know you might not want to hear that, but I just think that it's like compared to everything else in the mix, like it feels like it's either too harsh because because you've done that, it feels like it's too harsh, or it's like not adding to the serene experience, but it's actually taking away. And I think it's mainly because like we have this problem that we had similar like with the track that was happening similar tonight, where you have like too many notes that are kind of together, and it feels like, I don't know, like you have this kind of like I guess it's, what is it? It's not distortion, but it's like I don't know. It's like I'd rather it be like that and
It's
not.
yeah, it's like a kind of harmonic. It's called like harmonic masking and stuff, and it's because when you have low ends like that and the notes are so close together, it has to do with how the harmonic series, like how all of those notes and their overtones interlap
Right, and
or overlap.
it creates like a detuning thing that I don't think is very pleasurable in the context of
Yeah.
this song, because like it ends up making it feel harsh. That's like the big problem I think in the mix, is like it ends up making it feel harsh, and that's where like I don't know if pushing it up an octave would be good. I think it's just the chords themselves could be a little bit less together. So like a big thing that a lot of people talk about, and I have been experimenting with a lot, is the idea of like inversions. So like if you have four notes next to each other, right, you could have like two of those notes here and then the other two, like, and because they're further apart, they don't sound like all distorted and detuned. So I would say
As
just,
a yeah, as
just
a
more
rule, the
inversions.
more complex your voicing is, the more open you want it to be. And this is why like in jazz you have the concept of like a drop 4, which means dropping the top voicing, or like drop 2/4, which means you drop the top and the third from the top voicing. It's like a, I don't know. It's I can kind of, we can talk about like, I'll just get on call with you, Dino, and we can go through and like revoice some of this. But it's kind of complicated, but I can give you a few little like tips and tricks for just like creating good voicing for stuff. It's like generally you want to look at the intervals between all your notes and think about how you can spread them out in the way that best makes it like I mentioned it earlier, you want your voicings to mimic the harmonic series. So if you have like you have a fifth, or you have like a big, no, not necessarily a seventh, though that can sound good. But you want to just figure out how you can space stuff in a way that your biggest intervals are at the bottom, and then you slowly like close in once you reach the top. So you want like your voicings to kind of taper inwards in distance. So like as you get to the right where you'd be in higher register, your voicings can close in. And at that point, voicings that are close together in the high end are like, okay, yeah, I can show you some good voicings for minor nines and stuff. They're it's like it's kind of a tip and trick, I guess, but it's something that can be applied in a lot of settings. But I don't know. And I can direct you to a couple good videos too. But yeah, just like open voicings for stuff, especially as you get more complex in your extensions, is really, really important towards like not just making things less muddy, but also showing off the different characters of the chord voicing. Cause like not the chord itself has a quality, but all of these different voices also have qualities in the way that they're arranged. Like I don't know, like you think about it like a just a major 9 or a major 7 chord is a stack of thirds, right? But you can expand that to be like a big, you can, how can you have it? Like a fifth from the root, and then you can have a third from that, and then you can add a fourth from that, and then you have a really colorful voicing that's like C, G, B, E. And that's a really open way to voice it. You can even put like that G up on top, and then you have like a seventh, fourth, and then another third. And that's like, I don't know, just the most open way to voice thing is generally the best. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but I know that you like to theory max.
Yeah, no, you're chill. Oh wait, I did want to actually just quickly answer. So like I would say that you have mid build, but it's like it's literally the balance of the mix too. Like whenever you bring in, like, everything is kind of like balanced, right? And then the chords just feel like so much louder than everything else. Like, and I feel like it's almost jarring in the difference in level, just because once again you've developed such a serene and calm like space. So like, it's, in my opinion, like everyone's gonna be almost like meditative, right? So it's gonna be super obvious when those come in because they're so much louder, not just distorted, but even louder. I mean, like, if you really are worried about that aspect, then it's one of those things where you might want to lower your sub then. Like, or if it's something like, because the only thing that I would be able to tell differently on my monitors than my headphones would be bass and low frequency content. And at that point, then you might just have too loud of a sub, or you should bring everything else up around those mid chords. Cause like, yeah. I think my biggest problem with them though is that they're distorting / like doing this. You know, they're creating that like detuniness, which I don't think like benefits the track. It kind of like takes away from the calm, relaxed.
I don't think washed mids is that. Why do you need the mids to be so present, especially if you're listening on like if you want cars to be your big thing? Like I don't know. I don't think you need mids as much as you think you need mids.
Yeah.
I think like that for this kind of track, you really want like as little, because like you've seen those dumb frequency charts that are like boxy, muddy, and they have like the little boxes. Well, you have like the high end that's like airy, and then you have your sub, which is like grounded. You don't really need mids. You have your like, I mean, you need some mids, but I don't think you need to push them as hard as you think. Because like this is a grounded and airy track. It has those vibes. So like I would push the sub and the lows, and you have the highs, and I don't know. I don't think that you should hyper focus on mids here, and if anything, I think they should be less present than what you're thinking. Just because you don't really want to have that connection. You want that airiness between like the sub and the high end, in my opinion. Like that goes hard here. It's not something to avoid. Because that the mids give like weight, I guess, and you don't really need that heavy weight.
Also, you have this thing here that you kind of like snuck in, like, I think that's my target audience right now, so I boosted them. I mean, like, honestly, you should try and find a reference track. Like, you know how powerful reference tracks are, and I feel like you should look for something that kind of is in this ballpark. Because yeah, like it's such a meditative and ambient song that I think by doing what you are doing with the mids, you're doing that aspect of the song a disjustice or a disservice. Like, you're basically kind of disrupting that element of the song by doing that. And I mean, like, that's just my opinion. But well, yeah, and I mean that's where like what I just said was like as close as you can. Like, I would even look at like meditative stuff, like meditation music even, and like you'll notice like there's probably not going to be a whole lot of moments where all of a sudden a sound kind of jumps out at you. And I think that's why I was also so like against the kicks earlier too, is like you can definitely like lead people into this beat vibe and or also give them these melodic elements periodically, but I think that it's better to do that in a way that
bro.
Well, yeah, maintain that. Yeah, exactly. Like,
It's like we're in a hot air balloon, bro. We're like in a hot air balloon in the sky, and then these kicks and like these mids, they're like someone threw a bunch of bricks up at our hot air balloon. Like, hey, you need some weight in here, bro. And we start sinking. We're like, bro, we're floating. Come on, dog. I was 10,000 feet up, and now all these bricks, bro. I'm like 5,000 feet, man. We can't even.
No, it's
not
like,
even turbulence, bro. We're like the hot air balloon is sinking.
It's
man.
it's like the what was that big dirigible thing, like the Hindenburg?
The Hindenburg?
Yeah, dude, that's legit what happens, dude. I swear, it like totally destroys the the atmosphere you built up. Because I mean, I personally think that the atmosphere is like super relaxing, very surreal, puts me in like so many great mental headspaces. And then all of a sudden, like I got the kicks coming all out of nowhere, and then the mids when they come in, I'm like, where did those come from? They're all distorted and nasty, and I shouldn't say nasty. They're not bad, but they're distorted and they're loud. So it's like compared to everything else, it is out of place, in my opinion.
Subvert expectations.
Oh, here
Don't
we go.
subvert our expectations, bro.
Subvert
This is like you making
expectations.
that crazy unrappable beat for that beginner rapper just to troll him. You need to let us be moldy, bro. We're in like a mold infested cavern and then you like turn the light on. Come
No,
on, bro.
if you want to subvert expectations, I think that you should do it in a way where you're at least letting us know you are, okay? You know, like fade in with a reverse reverb swell or something, you know, let us know like, hey, you thought this track was about the atmosphere, but joke's on you. It's actually about these mid-range chordy
Yeah,
things.
it's about this neuro bass, bro. Come on. But I think we're going hard on you because it's you, Dino. But it is a
Yeah.
good track. I just think that you should lean into this atmosphere. Like personally, I think that's what you're best at is creating these like really nice, really lush atmospheres with really nice melodies. And I think that it's kind of like an in between point where the track feels like you're approaching it kind of from a dubstep or bass music point of view where like you want to have the mids, you want to have this like flat spectrum. But I think if you really like threw your whole hat into this is like an atmospheric, like pretty bass packed, pretty sub bass, pretty high end packed mix, but it's not like necessarily anchored and you like let us float, let us be meditative and ambient and atmospheric. I think that's where like that's your superpower as a producer, dog.
Which I think is really cool because I definitely I can't say that I'm as expert in that field. You know, like my quick answer is just chuck a hybrid Atmos on it and call it a day. But obviously, you've gone like steps further than that. So yeah, I feel like you should dive deeper into that mindset of like maintaining the atmosphere and not disrupting it, because like I think it sounds and feels great. You know, like I think it's a good vibe that's worth venturing into. Um, yeah, this is like some great late night driving music.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a piano solo, and you have to put it in there. I don't know, I'm sure you've seen, but I've been playing some piano. I have some ideas, and you're forced to put these in there, else I'm gonna drive to California. I'm gonna kidnap you. I'm gonna hold you hostage until you open up your PC. Then I'm gonna put it in there myself. So, might as well just make it easy for all of us. Okay?
Facts, facts. It's on every track and bus and some of the sends too. Oh, that's funny. Well, good. You get it then. You get
Yeah,
it, Dino.
he flexes hybrid Atmos, bro.
Then you understand. All right. Keep that going. Keep that alive. Don't come in here with the freaking mids that are distorted and all
No, you
loud.
need to band split and put hybrid Atmos just on the mids, but on every mid element. Then we'll show who's
Hybrid
boss.
Atmos on the master fader. Let's go, dude. Let's go. All
And then
right.
like 20 OTTs after the hybrid Atmos.
Yeah, thank you for everyone who stuck around. Thank you, Dino. We love your music. We love everyone's music. The flock is strong.
You know?
Another Friday, another Feef. The
Yeah.
two Feefers. Dino was
Yeah.
here. I don't know why he wasn't here, but he's here. Here.
Sundays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. EST.
Yeah.
We do a block flip. It's pretty cool.
Yep. Come through, level up, become a G or a Fee.
Level up the dubstep producer. He's gonna be here. What? Or she? Level up is like Subtronic's wife, right?
I don't
Or
know.
girlfriend?
I'm not hip. I honestly don't keep tabs on Subtronics. So
Well, I would hope not. That would be like you got a hit. You got like spies watching him. All right, he's getting a bagel right now. He's got just a blueberry bagel. If you're like keeping tabs on him.
But yeah, Carmen's in the chat, so that means I'm sure she's like, "How is this Feef?" That's what she's probably thinking right now. How is this Feef? Well, it is.
Yeah. It's
Right.
gone to the Flock Talk podcast.
Block talk. Yeah, but no, it was fun hanging out. Percy, thank you as always. We did good work tonight. We showed people that
Pat
we
ourselves on
know.
the back.
Yeah, we know how to make some tracks a little bit better. Hopefully.
Well, we don't know how to make tracks because we didn't submit any tracks ourselves.
Yeah,
So
we don't make music. We just talk about music.
yeah. We're
Just-
like those people that like will critique films, but they've never like taken a video in their life.
Yeah, they heard a total of like 5 seconds of our tracks combined when I pulled
Yeah.
them up to talk about the super saws. But other
Yeah.
than that, they don't know that we make music unless they checked out all the other Feedback Fridays. But that's probably
That's
not the
true.
case.
Don't tell them about those though.
Oh yeah, those are sorry.
Definitely can't be accessed by clicking on the links.
I am sorry, Percy. What did you say? Uh-oh. The filter has come
Someone-
off
someone
again.
give this man a captcha. Come on.
Uh-oh. Goodbye.